boycott it.
No, you don't have to like. It's not. It doesn't have to be a thing.
Action.
You just sort of go with it.
All right, here we go.
Yeah. No, because
Is that your water? Go ahead.
It's mine.
it sort of gets weird if you get too deliberate with it.
Dude, that reminds me of like an audition. Like if I'm doing like a self tape.
Yeah.
Same shit.
All right,
It's
do you want to like introduce the show, I guess?
No, you don't even really have to do
Podcast.
that. There's not much to
Okay, can I introduce the show?
You alright?
Yeah. All right. What's up? I'm Eric. This is Odie, Adrian, Mitch, and Evie. This is Odie's podcast, Blissful Ignorance, and we're here today to not get ourselves canceled on camera. Here we go. All right, go ahead, man.
So,
Yeah, go ahead.
who really understands the FTX thing?
Oh man,
Yeah,
so much is going on there.
I actually got a pretty good understanding of it, right? So like basically, the big issue with it, right, is that like technically speaking, the reason why this like so everyone right now is an issue because this SBF guy is in the Bahamas. He hasn't been caught by anybody. He's basically stolen not him. Someone hacked the accounts of the owners or someone exactly, right? But the fact that he's not dead right now is fucking fascinating.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, so from what I hear, is that technically speaking, he didn't do anything illegal in U.S. jurisdictions. So because basically FTX US was completely compliant. The thing is though, so FTX is two separate entities. There's FTX, like just like the FTX, the massively used platform, right, that everyone knows of. Then there was the FTX US entity that they created, right? So
Yeah.
the US entity was completely compliant. Where all the bullshit happened was the offshore entity, right? So they're saying basically from a regulatory perspective, he basically really hasn't done anything, and they're actually he's basically corroborating. He's like a witness, so that's why he's
That's crazy.
He's under WitPro right now to figure out who basically hacked the accounts and took all the money.
What do you mean who? He
Exactly. But the thing is, like, my thing with it too, right, is that like this also happened with Bernie Madoff in a Ponzi scheme. Okay, because the actual issue, to further deliberate what the illegal part of FTX was, the FTT token, right? So basically, they inflated the valuation of FTX as a company itself through this FTT token, and the way they did that was through a private equity firm called Alameda. And Alameda, there's supposed to be a separation of like entities because Alameda shouldn't even really have any affiliation at all in terms of collecting like private capital, right? Should have no affiliation with FTX, but it was obviously ran by one of the people in the 10 supplet, whatever, the 10 couple thing he had going on, right? So what happened basically was Alameda Capital would raise, so Alameda Capital essentially had a back door to FTX where they'd essentially take money out and they consider it a loan, right? And then they would take that loan money and buy FTT. And that would increase the cost of FTT, right? So they kept on cyclically doing that. So because basically as the price of FTT increased, they'd be able to sell more FTT, right? Yeah. And then essentially they'd be able to backdoor more into Alameda as a loan, right?
Yeah.
And then continue this cycle, right? So apparently the way it all unraveled was, I'm not sure, it was CZ or somebody.
That's right.
Somebody basically called out the whole FTX staff or Sam Bankman-Fried and said, you don't have the ability, like this is I know what you're doing, blah, blah, whatever. He sold a massive amount of FTT token.
Yeah.
And inevitably what happened was that they, I guess, how does it operationally work?
So it crashes the token because FTT, if you use FTT tokens on FTX as an FTX user, you can actually get lower commission fees. So it's a way to supplement and incentivize people to use FTX as an exchange.
Yeah.
And my take on that is that, so CZ decides to short FTT, and then that triggers a Solana short because Alameda Research had most Solana, like 51% of Solana supply or something was due to fucking FTX, and so Sam Bankman-Fried has to sell that, and then Solana goes like 45%, negative 45% in a single day, and that leads off to a general a bank run on all sorts of other things like BlockFi defaulted, like a number of other things, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's really what's going on there. And you're right. I mean, I like the way that you frame this, right? You have this distinction between FTX US versus the international entity, and this is a general question that I'm sure a lot of us have opinions on about regulatory, right? I mean, DeFi is supposed to be a path out from the issues that traditional finance we encounter, right? Whether it be 2008 financial crisis, whether it be all sorts of things that concern typical people
Well, the whole issue
corruption
here is
finance.
because it was a centralized exchange.
Yeah, yeah, so yeah.
Not
Damn,
that, you know,
yeah.
not
There's
that
kind of
it was,
irony here.
DeFi.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's a little-
Exactly.
If this was on DeFi, we wouldn't have this issue.
And you know, and then to add to that too, right? So something that I understand, like working in the world of capital markets and whatnot, right, is generally like what happened a lot in the cannabis space was that when you wanted to, let's say from a regulatory perspective, have an easy path to distribution, right? You basically would say, okay, I'm going to get a former Health Canada official on my board, and the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to gift them $250,000 in warrants, right? And then what it's going to look like, it's going to be shares and warrants, right? So shares are obviously, it's like equity in the company, but warrants essentially are the right to buy equity at a certain price, right? So those can be useful.
Yeah, it's
So
like a non-publicly traded call option.
Exactly.
Essentially,
Yeah, and technically speaking, because warrants are a great way to avoid capital gains, but because there's no sale happening as of yet, it's not a taxable.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
not a taxable event.
So what I'm trying to say here basically is that like there's a lot of, when I was in the cannabis space, I saw companies go to former Health Canada officials, gift them shares, gift them warrants, give them a seat on their board, right? And then it looks like on their cap table, like this person invested in the company because they have X amount of shares, but in reality, they were gifted the shares, right? So why I'm saying that is that it makes perfect sense to me that in order for SBF to have as easy of a trajectory as he did on a regulatory front in the U.S., not only obviously are his families like literally elites in terms of like
yeah, Stanford law professors.
yeah, so yes, Stanford law. So his father is literally an academic leader in tax law and regulation.
It's a lot of irony here.
And he's the one that basically was able to get him in with Gary Gensler. who
Oh,
was-
the SEC chair. Yeah.
Exactly. Essentially, was able to have FTX have an easy route to be onboarded in the U.S. from a regulatory perspective. And what I'm saying, anecdotally from my experience, how that probably happened was A, nepotism, obviously, right?
Yeah.
But B, there's no way that they weren't gifted some FTT token.
Oh.
This is what I'm trying to say here at the same time too. There's no way that it happened. Because when you hear people, like for example, I'll give you the best example. You hear a guy like, who's the Shark Tank guy?
Kevin O'Leary?
Kevin O'Leary, right? Kevin
Yo,
O'Leary.
he was shilling FTX.
Yo,
so
this
hard.
motherfucker's shilling.
Kevin,
Bitcoin's been shilling everything.
and you hear him right now. He keeps on talking about, oh, Sam probably didn't do anything wrong. He just needs to get
Oh, no, I don't know.
and everyone's confused as to why that is. But I know, like, if you look at the history of criminality in finance or capital markets, right? Look at Bernie Madoff.
Oh, fuck. Man.
6 billion fucking disappeared. But the thing with a Ponzi scheme is half the motherfuckers are happy. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So this is what's happening. That's why SBF is fine right now. Half the motherfuckers out there are happy. They got to get out there good. You know what I mean? It's the other half that got fucked over. And
I mean, no one should be listening to Kevin O'Leary. He's
Exactly,
also-
yeah.
He's just a terrible investor, first of all.
And-
Right?
and-
If you actually look at if you look at his track record,
Yeah.
he's made all his money and his fame in media. If you
Yeah.
actually look at his
Yeah.
track
Yeah.
record, what he sold versus what he could have done. Like in his first company, he only made out with like 300 million, right? As opposed to
That's a lot.
no, but
yeah.
as opposed to waiting.
Yeah.
If you waited and stayed through the entire investing period, he would have made like $4 billion. So already he decided to leave early.
yeah.
The money he took from that, he actually blew it all on another company, right? And so, if you compare him to all the other sharks, he's actually not a great investor.
Shit.
All of his investments are basically like shitty deals where he tries to get like 50%
Oh, fuck.
and he gets like nothing.
Didn't he own Boston Pizza? Was that what he like?
No.
That was the other dude.
That was the other dude.
That was the other guy who did that.
That's
Yo,
the
so fun-
Jets gym. I think.
Funny story about that guy though. If you watch, it's not even Dragon's Den. If you watch Dragon's Den long enough, that guy, he never gives money to not a female.
Oh fuck.
He only invests in the female. It's the funniest
Yo,
guy. Yeah.
Speaking of females, though, did you guys watch the sex tape for SBF? And like,
He has a sex-
Sex tape?
Oh, yeah, with the Caroline, what's her name?
Is that his girlfriend?
dude,
Well, she's the head of Alameda Research.
yes,
Oh, but see, that's his girlfriend too.
Yeah.
I mean, CEO.
So they made a.
Quotation.
What does this guy think he is? He's making a sex
Wait,
tape.
was
Who's
that-
What's crazy?
he think he is?
Tell us about it. I didn't watch
Yeah.
this shit.
I mean, there's a bunch of crazy shit about this whole ordeal. The fact that I think they said at most FTX had like what, 15 employees. They're like
Maybe.
ridiculously
Maybe.
small head count.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was Alameda.
Alameda has a really
Yeah,
small
they had a
head
really
count.
small.
It's
Wait, they had 15 and 10 of them are fucking?
Yeah.
That's
On-
So already it's like, what are those? 15,
Classic.
what are those 15 rolls? So, they're all like dabs and like one chick.
Yo.
Like I'm like,
Oh, it was all okay. That's what I wanted to know is in the 10 couple thing, right? What was the split? Like, was it because I hear people be like it was just SBF, a whole bunch of chicks, but then I heard it's like no. If you're talking about like a software company and like a private equity firm, there's not a lot of chicks there. You know what I mean? So like, what's happening? Is it just like a gangbang or like
I don't know.
Oh, God.
That's
Yeah.
Okay, so, no, but did he leak the tape afterwards, or like how did they find the tape?
someone leaked the tape.
Damn.
Is anyone watching it? Like, is it good? Is it a sick tape? Is it, yo, dude, when Kim Kardashian leaked her tape, dude, she leaked it to like Vivid, and she got paid like I think it was like it was millions for
You know,
that tape.
I'm happy
And
you
I think
brought
it was over
that.
5 million. And that launched her
I'm
career.
happy you brought
Yeah.
that up because it was not a good tape. I'll tell you.
You didn't come.
Too much Ray J.
Too much Ray J, not enough
Too
Kim,
much
right?
Ray J. Just
Yeah.
Ray J talking about himself the whole time.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they had two of them too, right? They had there was like a
Part A, part B.
yeah, you know, it was like a
the
multi-scene
first
album.
one was a teaser. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
it'll come out later.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why people are surprised. Nerds fuck, man. Nerds been
Everyone
fucking, man.
fucks.
You know the top of the food chain right now? Well, the past 10 years been software engineers, man.
Yeah.
Nerds been fucking, dude.
Oh, yeah,
You gotta film it.
Yo,
They gotta film it.
so
Gotta
it's
film
like,
coworkers.
you know, you go to a club here, I just see some girls, I'm like, yo, man, she's like fly. And then you look at her hubby, she's like, you're the fucking software dude.
Yeah.
What the
Yo,
fuck,
for
man?
real.
Jesus
Yo,
Christ.
for real.
Yo, she's not with no Tyrone anymore.
Oh,
She's
the
like,
fuck! Oh my god!
fucking Bradley.
Holy shit!
You know why?
Oh, Brad.
Because Bradley gets the fucking bag, the
Oh,
secure bag.
yeah.
He's got options, man. He's safe.
Yeah, it's true.
That's what she wants. She's like, yeah, man, go to Bradley. He's not gonna cheat. Joke's on you. They
Oh,
cheat
wait,
the
wait,
most,
wait,
man.
yeah,
These
yeah.
fucking nerds cheat the most.
Yeah.
These software
Oh.
nerds.
Yeah, they're not loyal at all.
Oh, shit.
They go from one chick to chick, like company to
You
company.
got power
right?
now, man. You're like, I run software and I run bitches.
Oh my god.
Dude, I'm telling you,
Gosh.
the software dudes I know now, they fuck. Like, they're like, yeah, man, it's our time to shine.
There's like a weird culture specifically in Toronto too of I've noticed that there's zero value to sex. Because in some scenarios there's like I don't know how to explain this. It's like in some scenarios it's like how do I even how do I say this without me getting canceled? Yo.
You're getting canceled, bro. We're all getting canceled today.
There's an extremely low value to sex, and I've even spoken to some women who basically it's like, and I think this is an obvious, right? Where you meet her for the first time and she's like, okay, let's not fuck because then like usually when I do this, that means that's not going to be anything of value. It's almost like this now not having sex is more so like an indicator of like long-term value. Because it's so easy. They hook
Like
up.
how it used to be back in the day when people used to value their marriages, and if you back in the day there was no birth control. If you wanted to like bang a chick, you would have to like meet her dad, ask for permission, marry her, and then you're allowed to do it. And then because you would definitely get her pregnant, there was no
You
birth
had to get
control.
permission from the dad.
And that was only like
Yeah.
80 years ago. Honestly, we had birth control what, like 1950s, 1960s.
Yeah, actually, believe it or not, the condom was invented in 1700s in France.
That is true, but
So
what
from
That's
sheep
insane.
splatter.
that, no, but you know what though? But were people using it?
Oh yeah, people. Some people were using it.
Some people.
Oh, yeah.
I would like to
Oh, yeah,
know
people
like
were
the
using it.
percentage
That
of
was
people.
a
It's
while.
kind of
bro.
expensive.
Can you imagine being a
Oh.
girl back then and being like, yo, hey babe, I'm gonna take this sheep's dick.
It's like yo,
Not
what?
a sheep
No,
dick,
no,
sheep
no,
bladder,
no,
man.
no,
Sheep
what?
bladder.
Putting what?
No,
Where?
sheep bladder. Sheep bladder.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I hear you.
Fucked.
Wow.
But you know what?
It's inventive,
Yeah, the
though.
world's a crazy place, and
I think that's what Red Pill says. They say like if a girl is like withholding sex, then it actually means she actually values it, versus girls who just like give it away like crazy. You know.
Yeah.
Because
or
if
the
she-
girl
if
just
she
really
makes
likes you. A girl could also.
No, but if she likes it, that means she's not gonna give it. She's like, I don't want to just wreck this and like slay this guy. Like I want to like kind of like chill in a bit and maybe like build more of a connection before I like get naked with this dude.
No, I think the pandemic really fucked up a lot of people in Toronto specifically, and that's what I'm trying to say. I think that's when all the hookup culture fucking exasperated itself. Because like, it was just, I don't know, people were just like stuck at home and they're like, alright, whatever, and we just like, hop on an app and da-da-da-da. Funny thing though, interesting about the apps though. I personally hate the apps, and I started asking a couple other black dudes, yo, they're terrible for black people. They're fucking,
Really?
their apps are terrible. Yeah,
Do you think they're also bad for black
That's
chicks
so
too?
good. It's fucking chocolatey, baby. So
Actually, statistically shown, it actually
I read it,
shown
yeah,
that
yeah.
it is bad for black chicks. Yeah.
Damn.
That
I don't know
that
if
sucks.
it
That really
matched
sucks.
or
So say a bit more, Odie, from your experiences.
So
of
this is actually what I've
black
discovered too, right? So it's interesting because on apps I've discovered this. Every girl that I match with on an app, right, generally is very left-leaning and liberal, and I always wondered why. Then I started realizing, oh, it's because they hop on these apps to look for black guys, and then I realized there's a certain type of like there's certain, and these are things that are not discussed, and I sort of been touching on this recently, but it's like there's certain unsaid dynamics when it comes to interracial interactions that are non-platonic, right? So for like white women that sleep with black dudes, generally I find it's like this sounds so stupid, but it's like they not like they only sleep with black dudes, but them sleeping with black dudes is a thing. Do you know
It's
what
like,
I'm trying to say?
yeah. I know
It's
what
like a
you mean.
hobby.
It's no.
It's their hobby.
No.
No, it's a thing. No, it's an
It's like
identity.
bundle hobbies, like tennis, basketball, black guys.
No, not even that.
Yeah.
It's like a statement. It's
Yeah.
Oh, it's a
Yeah.
statement!
Yeah.
It's like political ideologies. I'm liberal. I sleep with black guys.
Yes.
But
Yes,
actually,
I voted for Justin Trudeau.
I swear to God.
Oh my God.
I swear to God. It's
Oh,
that's,
shit.
And like it took me a while because like I was seeing I've been I'm like
they're taking both knees.
well
Jesus
because
Christ.
Oh, that's a sign of me today. Holy shit.
Because I'm 29 and I feel like I've been operating in a lot of areas that are prevalently white. I don't voluntarily go out of my way to date. Actually, I have not dated a lot of white women, to be honest. But like, this same thing kept on happening, and like, basically I would date girls, and then there'd always be this weird scenario where she'd be like, oh no, like you should be thinking about. You should think this about this scenario, not this.
Fuck.
You know what I mean? She's like,
Holy
something
shit.
would come up. She's like, no, I expect like black guys to think this about this, and like I wouldn't.
And they should have say that to you.
Yo.
Well, it's not even that they say it. It's like
It's implicit. in the discussion.
it's weird because like it never comes up strictly in a conversation, but you can sort of see them having this weird like thought process in their mind of like, yo, am I racist? Did I think that like, he does this because that's why I think black people operate? Now he doesn't do that. That's
Right,
confusing me.
right.
He looks different, right? So
It's like the movie Get Out, and his brother is just like, hey man, with your genetics, bro, you could be an amazing MMA fighter. He gets trying to put him in a headlock. I'm like, dude, this is like ridiculous. Yeah. So awkward, bro.
but yeah, no, that's definitely a thing. Yeah, and then like I also realized that this is just in my opinion, right? This is just my opinion. I think dating apps are actually very derogatory for like human growth or like for just the growth of a person, right? Because I feel like they really allow you to discriminate. And the thing is before, like, because in what world were you able to choose out of like a whole library of people specifically who you'd want to and not want to hook up with? Before it was all geographic based, right?
That's you got arranged marriages.
Yeah, so
They
yes,
send you a
yeah.
whole like binder of
So I
people to choose from.
so I feel now because everyone's so selective with that kind of stuff, it's almost increased discrimination. And I've been talking to a couple of friends about this, and I shared something on Instagram the other day. It was a bit like third rail-ish, right? But I actually got a lot of responses, and it was basically on the topic of interracial relationships. And somebody came back to me and they said it's interesting in Toronto, although it's the most diverse city in like the world apparently, right? There's actually a very small level, like small percentage of interracial relationships. There's not a lot of interracial relationships. If you actually, if maybe anecdotally, but if you think about it, man, honestly think about it. Really think about it. I don't know, like I do not see a lot of interracial relationships.
What do you mean?
I would say like probably it's like a 10% ratio.
So, like, do you want to group all East Asians together, for example? Do you want to group all black people together? Like, is an
Yeah,
African
yeah,
the same as Jamaican,
good, yeah,
for example,
yeah,
is a Nigerian the same as a Ghanaian? Like,
Yeah, okay.
So that's my question, right?
If you had to consider,
Well, I hear what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe, but I just don't know statistically what the facts are.
I would be interested in looking because
I would say all my friends
yeah.
are interracial relationships.
Oh, for real?
Every single
I
one.
wouldn't say, no, definitely not all my friends, but I know a lot of people in Toronto, so, you know.
I don't know. I think I may know one person who's Taiwanese dating someone who's Chinese.
But you probably
Yeah.
expect more in such a diverse city. That's your point, right?
Also could be a friend group too.
Yeah.
Do you know Vancouver has the most amount of
Wait.
has the highest per capita like biracial or like interracial marriages ever. But you know what the two ethnicities were?
White guy.
No, everyone fucking thinks that it's not. It was actually Vietnamese people and Chinese people.
Oh, yeah,
that was the
yeah.
actual
Oh,
stat.
okay,
That
okay.
is
No, because
yes,
they're
yes.
two distinct like
okay,
ethnographic
okay.
groups. Everyone was like, oh, it's gonna be like a white guy in Asia. It actually wasn't. It was Vietnamese people. I was like, shit.
See, that's interesting because like okay,
Could have fooled me.
so I would think though. So I would think okay. I guess this is what I'm trying to say. I guess when I refer to interracial, right? And maybe this is like the colloquial. It's like where it starkly different like cultures, like starkly different races. Let's be fucking honest here. You know what I'm trying to say? Like you don't really see like you don't see a lot of like Asians and like black people together. You don't see a lot of like let's say I've never seen really like a Chinese guy with an Indian girl. I've never really seen.
Could also just be a cultural thing, right?
This is what I'm trying to say, though. But it's interesting how, like, in an area like Toronto, that's highly diverse, high population of people that are all intermingling with each other. That's still, you know what I mean? It's like that's still a low.
Yeah, it's a different kind of multiculturalism in the U.S.
You
right?
still sort of like
It's living next to each other with less intermingling.
And you know, I actually want I don't know, but it was interesting. I would be interested in looking at the stats on it.
You know what I think it is? I think it's like it's all about sort of like groups of ideologies. So East Asia is like Confucianism, Buddhism. There's like Christianity, Judaism, and like being Muslim and stuff like that. And
even Southeast Asia, every single country in Southeast Asia are like distinctly different. There are no countries that like even like they're all fucking trying to kill each other.
Yeah,
Thais killing Cambodians.
Yeah,
Asians killing Singaporeans. They're all very different, right? So even within subcultures, you want to group Southeast, even East Asians. Oh, Koreans hate Japanese. Japanese hate Chinese. Chinese hate Korean. Like they all hate each other.
Yeah, there's a long history of war.
You'd be shocked if I ever met Japanese couple. I'd be fucking
No,
shocked.
I've never seen that.
It would never happen.
Yeah. You know what happens? It happens in North America, man. Because like when you get grouped together, back to this whole point about ideologies. I think it's like why are there, I guess maybe like I don't know, less Asian people and black couples or whatever. It's because the ideologies are completely different, and like that leads into things like family values. Like, you know, it's not even necessarily about race at that point. It's more just about like the ideology of your country and like how you're raised and like what you believe, and like even like Christian people marrying Jewish people. Like there's still some similarities there versus like I don't know like a Jewish person marrying someone who's like I don't know, like Muslim for example.
Yeah, sure.
There's a lot more
that's
differences.
not gonna work.
You know what's weird? I get along with Jewish women really easily.
You tend to, eh? That's interesting. That's interesting. Say a bit more about this. This is interesting.
Yeah, you know, it's unlike Kanye, me and the Hebrews. I'm joking.
Yo, dude, on Twitter yesterday, I think we're at the party, and my friend showed me the picture. It was like Kanye. He posted this picture of like it was
Star of David.
The Star of David with the swastika, and I'm just like
completely.
And it's like one week after Elon Musk gives him his Twitter keys back, he posts that. I'm just like,
wait, what?
No, yeah, you heard
on
right.
Twitter?
No, you heard
That's
right.
exactly what it was. He posted that on Twitter, and I think within
He posted what on Twitter?
the Star of David with a swastika in the middle of it on Twitter, and then he got taken down like immediately. It was crazy.
Yeah, he got banned today.
Again?
This
Finally
guy.
You got banned.
Yeah, Elon is like
As he probably should.
Elon is like you lose your fucking privileges, man.
I don't know, man. Okay, you know, so here's like.
But it's kind of like what we talked about yesterday. It's like, the mental illness, it's horrible, dude.
Oh yeah, having a real he's definitely mentally ill. I don't think any person who is sane would be posting something like that, especially after Elon gave him back his Twitter keys, and it's just the dude's out of fucking control, bro.
He's out of control. It's that simple.
You know what it is? I think he's just trying to be sensational. He's just trying to piss people off. He knows it's like
he's bipolar too.
Yeah, no, he's fully mentally ill. Do you know there was a kid in Canada who got in shit for like taking swastikas and putting them all over the school boards, and like it wasn't because they had to give the entire class, the entire school, like sort of like a Jewish history course on why this is like, you know, like an evil symbol, but the kid, he was doing it because I think he knew that it would piss everybody off.
But he didn't really know, like, there's a chance he didn't even know what it meant.
He was like 8 years old.
Yeah,
He doesn't know about that.
You don't know what this is, but you know it's going to piss them
Right,
off.
and when you're a kid, you're going to run around graffitiing everything because you're trying to rebel and say fuck the system, but like he put that everywhere, and yeah, he got major shit for that. The whole school had like, you know, a Jewish history course, and
so you're saying Kanye's like an 8-year-old kid.
Yeah, he's just, I think he knows what's sensational. He knows, because he knew if he did that, he would make headlines immediately. But I guess when you're bipolar, you don't understand that. Like, you're getting.
We should be careful because not all bipolar would ever.
No, not just bipolar people, but Kanye
it exacerbates underlying.
Yeah, but Kanye in a mentally unhealthy state will do that because it gets attention, and he's a serious clout chaser at this point.
So
he will do anything for clout. He will do anything for clout.
A bit more than clout.
So first things first. First things first. I denounce anti-Semitism
Good. I'm happy to hear that.
In all
I'm happy to
capacity.
hear
Yes,
that.
yes.
That's good.
That's sick.
We're
Glad you have
sorry.
to make your views
Yo, I'll
known.
drink to that.
Yeah.
But
Okay, but what's the what?
I think what's happening to Kanye. Right?
But
I think what's happening.
Rocket
To,
cancel
What?
well, what's happening to Kanye right now is a conflation of a couple of things. The first one right now is going through a divorce.
Oh, okay.
He's been going through that divorce.
Well, it's finalized now.
No, but still.
Divorce takes a while though. It's a process.
No, but regardless though, like as a man, divorces are very like they're extremely taxing. They're it'll take divorces can be the darkest time of a man's life.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say? Right? It can be the darkest.
It's like death of a parent and then divorce are the same stress level.
So on the topic of mental health, right? Like a divorce will push you to your edge, right? Now, what he's sort of what he's like. So there's a weird thing that happens within media and distribution, right? So the thing is with everything, right? There's creators, there's like manufacturers of things, right? And then there's distributors of product, right? And now the way the media works is that the distributors of product have the majority of power because that's how they basically get to the market, right? And when it comes to like the music industry, the cinematic industry, it's an oligarchy, right?
Yeah.
There's a small amount, in the music industry, it's record labels. The small amount of record labels, essentially, that are responsible for distributing the majority of music, right? Now, the question a lot of people, and the reason why I'm even getting into this is because I've realized we're in an era of extreme divisiveness, and I really like the fact that I have friends like this because we can have it's interesting. I find myself in unique scenarios because I have like a diverse group of friends, right? But like I'm seeing now this even with this whole Kanye thing, there's a lot of like black people who are agreeing with sort of what Kanye is saying, not the anti-Semitism shit, right? But some aspects of it, and I'm realizing it's causing a lot of issues. So this is why I'm even sort of speaking on this, right?
Yeah.
Now, what they're sort of saying basically is that like it's interesting, right? That when you consider the distribution of media, and we consider in 2022, hip hop and rap are like the most popular formats of music media, right? Like audio media, right? That there's no black owner of the distribution of music, right? Like so, you know what I'm trying to say? So it's like if black people have been the manufacturers of this content for so long, right? And have been able to like profit from it, right? Like should there not be at least one distributor that is black?
Is that what Kanye's talking about?
So
Yeah.
but I'll further elaborate on it. And the reason why a lot of black people are speaking on that, right, is because there's concerns about the curation of taste that is done by the existing oligarchy of content distributors. And let me just not use big words when I say that, right? A lot of people basically have this thing, maybe it's conspiracy theory, right? That the existing distributors of content, music media, like visual media as well too, that there's no such thing as an actual marketplace for media, i.e. I create something, people like it, people buy that, so now I double down on investing and buying that. People actually believe that they choose to promote certain, right? So it's you create a taste rather than like there's actually a market for taste.
Right.
It's taste curation, right?
Oh yeah, I follow.
Now, why a lot of people, black people are saying that specifically when it comes to rap is that it's very corrosive. Now, rap is very corrosive, and in my opinion, it's the most corrosive thing to black men. If you recently think about it.
Is it though? I mean, you can say about the end type of music.
I've heard your point though, because I know what you mean. Because some of these rappers, man, like dude, like Future promoting drinking lean, man, Juice WRLD overdosed on that. And he felt sad about it. He's like, Juice WRLD's like, dude, Future, man, when I heard you rapping about lean, it made me want to do it. And Future was just like, oh my god, what have I done to you? You have the poison. But at the same time, it's an artist's job to sort of rap his reality. He just didn't expect that like 11-year-old kids are gonna be looking up to you.
Yeah, but rock and roll bands were talking about sex, drugs, and alcohol in the 80s, right?
It's part of that's what music is.
But I guess the
honest.
point is that it's to a black community that is like traditionally disadvantaged in ways that they're in that cycle, right? Is that kind of the point?
And you have rappers like Kendrick Lamar,
right?
And let me backdrop here. Don't get me wrong. I love my 21 Savage. I love my Future. I love my CP Hall. All this shit, right? But the thing is, the argument here is like, why is Kendrick Lamar not getting promoted more? Because the market likes his music, right? But like, why is he not getting promoted more?
But he does get promoted though. He's famous as fuck. Kendrick Lamar is super famous. Kendrick Lamar is like he headlines every. He hasn't put on. I did put an album out recently, but dude, for conscious hip hop, he is like the new. I'm not saying the new.
But
he's extremely famous.
But you said conscious hip hop. You're not trying to say, but
he's conscious, yes.
But you're not trying to say, but it's like why is he not the Drake? Like why?
He's comparable. Kendrick Lamar is fucking famous, bro.
So the argument.
Yeah, but he's not. You know, Drake famous.
The argument.
He is, dude.
No, he's not.
Dude, Kendrick Lamar is Kendrick Lamar is a AAA artist who headlines rap festivals, and so does Drake.
Drake got the fucking stadium over there, bro.
No, but Drake is richer for many reasons.
But
Drake is a better businessman.
You're very like rich in your understanding of music, right? Now imagine like you're a country fan.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even know Kendrick. Well, maybe you do, but you don't try to say.
So let's walk through. Is your claim that there's select artists that are controlled by the oligarchy that suit particular curation of aesthetics or politics or
maybe not controlled, but
or if not controlled, like what is your because one thing I thought about on this point is
and we are back on the Blissful Ignorance podcast.
Is it recording?
Yeah, we're recording and we got some tech things. Go ahead.
So let's take a break and whatnot. But again, so I just want to finish this point. And again, I begin with I completely disavow anti-Semitism and all its formats, yada yada yada, all that good stuff, right?
Here.
Kanye's argument is very selfish, to be honest, too, as well, right now, because I think, like, what he says, if you've heard him explicitly, is that he's talking about people that pay him, right? But I think, like, what, on a larger level, people are talking about, right, is that, like, in the music industry, there is an oligarchy of companies, record labels, right, that for some reason or another seem to be promoting music that is extremely corrosive to the music industry, to the black community. And it actually adds to negative colloquialisms of the black community. So in my opinion, I don't even like when people say black per se, because it's like somebody from Haiti, somebody from Jamaica, somebody from St. Lucia, and like me from Kenya, right? We're all black, but we're all like thousands of miles away from each other, right? But I think when you colloquialize like black as a culture, you're able to label, in my opinion, some negative things on it, right? Or not negative things, but I think due to the fact that from like a music perspective, really negative behaviors are promoted, right? That people then people
group it together.
Yes, exactly. People group black people and these negative behaviors that are promoted from the media sources that they're able to see. And again, I'll go back and say that these media sources that they're being provided are being selectively chosen by these record labels that are promoting them, right? So it's like rather than having like really positive rappers or hip hop, people or anything like that. You're putting people on there that are literally talking about, like, I made a joke about this, right? This is I've never heard somebody so drill music is literally about killing people. Trap music is about selling drugs, right? I've never heard a drill song about killing white people. Like, do you know what I'm trying to say?
Slim Jesus.
Yeah, do you know what I'm trying to say? It's I'm not trying to say they should make one, you know, but I'm saying it's really weird that, like, a lot of this music about killing motherfuckers is always black people that talk about those motherfuckers. So these are questions that people ask themselves when you're at the back end of like receiving the repercussions of this culture. You ask yourself, hey, like, why is it only these people that are being promoted?
Yes.
And it's like, well, if these record labels are the ones that are...
So this is really interesting, because in the history of philosophy, you look at someone like Theodor Adorno, German sociologist, he thought that there can't be Vietnam War protest songs, and the reason is because by commercializing certain kinds of messages through a capitalist structure, it's actually unable to produce a kind of rebellious message because of the nature of the consumption of that music. And so there's a kind of interesting thought here on this line where rap is supposed to be a expression of the lived experiences of many people from poor backgrounds, etc., the struggles that they live in their daily lives, etc., that historically that came from that period. But now it's being co-opted by what you're saying, major corporations, in such a way that it's actually reinforcing perhaps negative stereotypes, or it's being commercialized in a way that's consumable for the average person, but they're not like processing like the fact that this is speaking to a particular demographic and the struggles that they're going through.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, man. I think if they're still talking about it, obviously the issue is still relevant, right?
Right.
But it's kind of an oxymoron.
Yeah, because I mean, like Tupac was talking about like
success.
Pac was talking about changes in the 1990s.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I talked about like incarceration rates, and 30 years later, we're still talking about incarceration rates because nothing has changed, right? And it's like
it's gotten worse actually.
It's actually gotten worse.
It's gotten worse. Yeah.
And there might even be I think it's one of the things that probably put a lot of as a non-black man, what I saw in Twitter discourse for a lot of black folks getting upset that Kanye was saying he's not a Democrat, he's a Republican. I'm like, I mean, I imagine there's, black Republicans.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Of course,
yeah,
there's
yeah.
Ben
like-
Carson, like fucking.
I don't see how that is an issue. Like, it would make sense for any culture. There's always two sides. You can't lump all people together.
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah, I hear you.
But people are saying, well, if you're not for Democrats, you're not for the black vote. And I'm like, doesn't really make sense. I'm like, you're telling me there's no conservative black people, there's no conservative Asians, conservative
Look at
Latinos.
Thomas Sowell.
Come on,
Yeah,
man.
Well-known
Yeah.
economist, Hoover Institute fellow. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
There's tons of conservative black people. Candace Owen, is that
Yeah,
her name?
yeah.
There's lots.
So I just wanted to finish that because obviously it's a very third rail topic, and obviously Kanye West is approaching that topic in not the correct way. And honestly, I think that like his angle in it is not exactly.
That's probably
what
the most charitable interpretation of Kanye's thought process. But I appreciate it, Odie. I think that's a good way to kind of add some sophistication to this.
Yeah.
These kinds of discussions. So.
Yeah, no, but like, he's definitely lost his shit. I'm not really paying too much attention to that. I will say one thing though. What's interesting is that I have definitely started to get like blowback from Kanye. Like
What do you mean,
On Twitter?
So no. I feel like so in the workplace, man. I work with a lot of Jewish people, and I feel like after all this Kanye West stuff started happening, because we live in an era of such poor communication, people just were sort of like, okay, well now I don't know what to do. Like, do all black people think this way? Do you know what I mean? And it's interesting because it sort of also happened during like the George Floyd thing. I was working at this asset management firm, and my CEO literally had we were all working from home at that point. He had a call with me to understand like my status as a black person.
Damn.
Because he wanted to understand like, oh yo, like, and I was like, yo, I didn't know that like, I didn't know that as a society we're this fucking separated from each other. That we
Yeah,
don't,
jeez, man.
we
Jeez.
would like nobody is because like. I even dated a girl who she was white, and then she took she's like, I have to take anti-racism courses.
Oh fuck.
To fucking and I was like, I didn't know as a
no, it's a thing. Like my friend, he works for Nuclear Archives in Ottawa, and
Yeah.
like he works with a lot of people from Quebec, and like I'm not going to generalize the people from Quebec, neither is he, but like he found that a lot of his coworkers like would say racist stuff about black people, or they'd even say racist stuff about Chinese people, or stuff that you just take for granted. Because like I grew up in Vancouver, I grew up in Toronto. These are the two main places I've also lived in England. But like these are pretty multicultural areas, right? Like I'm at least accustomed to that. I don't know about you guys, but if you come from smaller towns or wherever, I mean, people think all kinds of stuff, right? People are less educated than average, or they just have not seen all the demographics that there is to see in the world, and so.
It was interesting how like reactionary that was in that month after everything happened. I talked to like probably 90% of my clients within probably like the month or so of everything going on. Now all of a sudden everyone's running diversity workshops, like Black History Awareness workshops, and I was like, man, people just didn't like, either they didn't care or they didn't know, or maybe a little bit of both. But all of a sudden we had HR reaching out to black employees and all that. I was like,
I think it made things
this happened
worse.
real fast.
I think it made things worse. I'll be honest with you, man. I think it made it. I've been talking to a lot of people, man. I think after the whole BLM George Floyd thing, I think it actually made race relations worse. I swear to you, because basically now I've definitely realized, specifically white people, like, are very tenuous, because it's like, oh shit, I don't want to be labeled a racist. So now it's almost like even in a lot of scenarios I've experienced anecdotally where it's like, let me just not interact with you, because like I don't want to,
interesting.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm so scared about exactly. Let me just like it's like, and it's interesting
Is
because
this right? Is that wrong?
Exactly.
I'm gonna fuck it up. I just know I'm gonna fuck this up.
Yeah.
So like I'm gonna go over here.
Exactly,
like,
right? And it's and I'll say that because I noticed this was happening. I noticed this was happening when Me Too was happening. Because I started noticing, because I've been working in finance for quite some time, and when the whole Me Too saga happened, I literally started noticing firms stop hiring women.
Oh fuck.
Wow, man.
Wow.
That's interesting, yeah.
Because they're like, well, we don't want to deal with this.
Holy shit.
If it's gonna be an issue,
Wow.
Oh my
just
God.
don't stop hiring
That's
them.
interesting, man.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. So like, it's
That's some real talk, man. That's crazy.
And
I believe you though.
And then,
That's what you've seen.
and then, in my opinion, too, there's a weird thing that happens too. Like, so for example, in Toronto, obviously, a lot of big shops have like DEI departments, right?
Yeah.
But then you ask yourself, because I'm in sales, right? And it's interesting, right? Because like DEI never really affects sales, because no, seriously, because like if you have an idea in your mind that black people are victims, you're not gonna hire them in a rev gym role. You know what I'm trying to say? Like you're just not gonna hire them in a because if in your mind you think I think we were talking about it's a weird like messed up like elitism or like.
Well, isn't DI just meant to like really like check your privilege, make sure that you're aware of what you're doing or that you're taking a fair approach, right?
I don't know, man. Like I've had conversations with some banks, like specifically BMO, and the way like I've literally like this is the exact conversation that they had with me. We're really trying to hit our KPIs and we're just not doing it.
Sure. What every company.
Right, so like keep productivity indicators and that. But like when I got saying we're really trying to hire more black people, we just can't do it.
Because
we just can't because we just can't figure it out.
So there's always a catch-22 to a certain forms of awareness. Is kind of the key lesson here.
But in the conversation I'm having right now with BMO, basically is like if you guys want me to go work with you, right? Like listen, like if I want a role, it would be in wealth management and like in this capacity. But like I understand myself that those roles are highly competitive, regardless of race. Right? So it's like you can't just now say like, oh, we care so much about inclusion that we're just gonna open jobs for you guys, but it's not gonna be those jobs. It's gonna be like So my question is like, what jobs are you offering these? Right? Yeah. And in my opinion, it's like menial jobs. It's a lot of like jobs that nobody else wants to do.
Oh, interesting. I see what you're saying.
They've had a hard time hiring people to
that's the same thing for female stuff. The female quota as well.
Yeah.
I noticed that when I worked in tech. It was like we had a new CEO come in and it was like we're gonna make a commitment, hire more women, hire more diversity, etc. But the CEO who came in was a white dude, and he's like, I know guys, I know what it looks like, yada yada, all this.
No fuck.
So he's like, I know what it looks like, but trust me, we're gonna make a commitment, right?
Well, yeah, it goes back.
Next guy he hires is from his old company, another white dude.
Yep.
Now that they've got the important roles figured out, all right guys, now we're gonna hire women.
Oh my god.
It's like, yo, what?
I swear to that, So I was at a BMO conference and I actually asked them. I was like, "Yo, it's great that you guys are hiring more black people, but are you getting anybody in upper management?" Because after they told me, "Oh yeah, we're having a hard time hiring black people," I'm like, "Hey, maybe it's because people in management aren't black and like we don't want to stay here when we start working and like the whole infrastructure is not cohesive to us being here, right?" So I was like, maybe, and actually, statistically speaking, there is a thing about hiring. The study I was reading was more so about like women in STEM and the fact that it's more likely for women to be successful in STEM academically if there's more women in like that, like let's say class of graduating class, because you have more people to like collaborate with, right, or something. So the idea I was sort of trying to advocate on that point was that, hey, maybe if you get more black people specifically coming at the same time but also in management, there's almost like an idea of like a cohort, and I feel like cohorts can be more successful than individuals, right? But they just struggle with that, and it's like, well,
I think a lot of the reason why they struggle with it, and I don't want to get all like big brother, but this is why systems like China's actually do really well. It's because they have this data transparency, right? Regardless of what you think of it being good or bad, people don't even know how many black people are in Toronto, how many black people are employed, how many black people are employed and in this field. It's like, that's actually just like very raw numbers, it's raw data, but we don't have that. You can easily just be like, well, hey, if we're trying to hire one black, one Asian person for this role, the first thing you should think, how many actual potential candidates are available for this role in this country or in the city right now? Well, you don't know. Where are you going to get that data?
Yeah.
You're just going to hypothetically put it out there, like, I hope somebody comes over from like another field and applies for it. We wouldn't have this issue if we had like, better data, better tracking of like individual stats of like, where the economy is. Like, people say, well, we got 500,000 immigrants coming in this year. Okay, so what? We had 325,000 people die. So 325,000 versus 500,000. All right, that's a $150,000 $150 difference, plus 200,000 people who left. So actually, you should be thankful for those 500,000 people coming in, because actually it's a net positive. But people don't look at that, right? They look at the actual data because it's not hard to like it is hard to like find and actually assess and figure out what point actually works for you. But you look at it, you're just like, well, number big. This is my point that I'm making, right? But you don't actually dive deeper. You don't like, and this is why I think a lot of these programs, you know, diversity quotas, whatever, fails because they probably just literally don't know. If I want to hire like a Black or Asian designer in Canada, dude, I have no idea how many of them are actually available in Toronto and available for work, right? Like I know this, I don't know. Like,
honestly, I think the issue too though is basically like when you start putting these weird, especially in the private sector, when you start putting quotas on how people should hire specifically. So when you're saying talent, right? Because talent basically is like, I hate to say it, but you have to look at it almost as like tools or resources for a company. When you start basically like putting, it's almost like in like F1, when they start saying, oh, you need to start doing this with your car. You can't, you know what I mean? You start using it when you start forcing people to hire a certain way. I just don't think it works, and I think the whole issue here is basically like my whole thing basically like with this whole diversity and inclusion thing is that like coming here I've always the thing I appreciate about circles like this is that like I don't really think that I'm really looked at as a black person. I'm just looked at as OT. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it'd be cool if society operated more like that. I think the challenge that firms are dealing with right now is that when you're just forced to hire more black people, it's not like you're really forced to change your culture. You're just basically being forced to materially do something, which with everything else that you do, you gain through it and you find a way around it so you don't have to fucking face the burden of it.
Yeah, well
said.
So,
exactly. So an asset management firm has to deal with fucking a new bullshit tax. Well, they're going to find a way to get around that shit. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, well now I have to hire black people. Well, I guess I'll just put them all in the fucking mailroom. Because that's like, you know, that's a way to get around this. Yeah. So it's just sort of like it's there's not like an actual comprehensive approach being done to this, and I think it's also because like there's a bunch of it's hard to even really dive into it, but it's like for somebody to be, I guess, truly inclusive, right? It's almost like you're not even really like you're inclusive of everyone. You're not really cognizant of someone's race. You're not really cognizant of someone's gender. You sort of treat everybody sort of the same. Yeah. You know what I'm trying to say? So
it's hard because the job market is not like it's not efficient. It's dynamic, and in some ways, it probably shouldn't. If I went on Fiverr or went on Upwork, I know exactly how many 3D artists there are. Yeah. And they've all registered.
Yeah.
And again, you don't have to get all Big Brother, like, you know, dystopian, but like, why is this not available to everyone in every field? Why can't I not go literally on like a job board and see who's exactly registered for the asset manager position, who has exactly this role, but you create these silos in every field and starts honestly from like the government, right? The government, they have no incentive to create these databases. They just let people live, do whatever they want.
Well, the private sector does that. Honestly, I think that's what LinkedIn is doing right now too.
Yeah, exactly.
I was about to say LinkedIn.
Dude, that's what LinkedIn does that great. Like I have alerts for when people change their jobs. Like I'll put an alert that says like, notify me every time somebody adds designer to their profile.
Wow.
Every week I'm like, oh shit, like so for me I can see the market trends and be like, yo, 5,000 people added designer to their job role this week.
True.
That's a 50% increase from last week. More and more designers getting in the field, right? But it's just the private sector doing what they do. But really, it should be, I mean, a job. It's like, I don't want to say it's like a right, but like, everyone should have those tools available to both businesses and employees.
Yeah, right? A job's not a right. Like, you gotta build it, like, the way you gotta build your skills almost like it's a video game. You know what I'm trying to say? It's like, you know, if you don't want your Skyrim character to be shit, you gotta fucking you gotta upgrade that, right? Yeah. So like I actually really don't like people that look at life as like, oh yo, I deserve to have money. You know what I'm trying to say? Like but like it's interesting. I do think things are sort of moving towards that like that area, especially like in the position that I'm right now. In terms of like buying data. Yeah, there's so much information available on everyone, and if you have like the right function in terms of what you're doing, it's really easy to find like people at this point, like right now. Yeah.
It's a data economy, that's for sure. I think related to this topic too is also ESG metrics, right? So you think about a company like Tesla, but was not able to sustain itself in the S&P 500 as ESG index. And part of that's
So can you give us an overview of like what ESG is?
Yeah, so environmental, social factors and governance.
Ethical, social
right.
governance.
Yeah, exactly. Well, E is actually environmental.
Is it environment?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. So like, for a lot of companies also want to do stuff that's promoting environmental factors. I mean, social touches on the diversity, equity, and inclusion aspect, but there's also an environmental factor. And I think we all want to support the environment, of course, but there's certain ways that you can game the system again to do exactly that. I mean, like Tesla for a while, like it seems like electric vehicles, right? It seems like it's a progressive company rather. But the issue with Tesla is they don't know how to recycle their fucking batteries. Lithium-ion batteries are very difficult to recycle. So it's like you can be really good at satisfying a certain aspect of the environmental component, but fail at another component of the same metric. And you can kind of game the system on stuff like this. So there's also like carbon offset credits, for example. And so like I feel like that's another thing from like investors or even ETFs. Like you get Wealthsimple, you get other brokerages like trying to sell you an ETF that's supposed to be like a green bond ETF or something like this. And when you look at it, you think, oh, okay, great, it seems like I'm supporting the environment. But it's like, well, are you really supporting the environment? Or is this a way for companies to kind of like pay off certain carbon offset stuff, but they can still pollute or they can still do stuff that's damaging the environment? So I think it's kind of a related discussion also in the climate politics or climate side of these discussions.
Yeah, because it's one of those things where it's like, and you touched on it earlier, where there's so many topics that are divisive that you're either for or against, but there's no like room for like nuance. And and things like something like climate, it's like it's obviously very important. Like, it's not for some people they might not think it's important now, but it's a very different story when you like literally walk out the street and you can't actually breathe because like the smog, right? Or like you don't have good waste management, whatever. It's like I feel like it's not important until it actually impacts you, which is how people mostly live, right? Like, who the fuck cares? I'm not a woman. I don't care about women's rights. Blah blah. All of a sudden, it happens to your sister, your wife, whatever. All of a sudden, you're like, holy fuck, I'm all for women's rights, right?
It hits close to home.
Like all of a sudden, oh shit, like, who cares about BLM, blah blah. And all of a sudden, Asians start getting attacked. You're like, Asian rights, like, it's like, oh well, people don't just, I don't know. I feel like people just don't have empathy, or like they haven't trained empathy, like they just.
But they can't relate to what happens to you. Like if you look at like maybe a lot of people running cancer runs and everything, if you probably polled them, there's probably a good percentage of them that had maybe someone in their family die of cancer, and then they'd be more inspired to go do it. There's a lot of people who don't, but like but it's I can't remember who this person was. There was some guy who like he was like really rich, he didn't give a shit, and then he got some like disease, and then he became like the spokesperson to cure that disease. But I'm just like, well. And then he was being criticized for being selfish. I'm like, well, you can call him selfish, but like he's still helping other people by promoting like raising funds to cure this disease. It'll help him too, obviously, but like he probably wasn't even aware of it until he got the disease himself, right?
That's interesting, and that kind of brings up like I guess it's kind of a bit of a segue, but the whole like social justice like movement, just in general.
Like virtue signaling,
and the idea that like you have to cater to every single cause, and then I just think it's interesting that it's like, well, I didn't really care about the Terry Fox run until like my cousin died of cancer. That idea of like what I mean, and then suddenly I'm gonna go there now, and it's like you kind of find the causes that matter to you as you go, and I feel like that's kind of all you can ask for of a person.
I agree.
But when you start expecting everyone to adhere to every single one, I feel like that gets complicated. I feel like that gets difficult.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, there's only so many charities you can
you gotta pick and choose what you care about, right?
Is that why like the LGBT flag has become just like a smorgasbord of fucking angles and shit now? Just like every color possible.
It's
the whole alphabet.
Actually, by the way, they added a 2S at the beginning now, so it's 2S LGBTQ.
Jesus Christ!
Isn't that?
Because it's two-spirit. It's two-spirit First Nations.
So get it right.
This fucking guy.
I'm gonna offend half the audience right here.
At what point is this turned into?
It's quite an initialism to remember.
At what point does this turn into a QR code?
We're gonna show that one.
That's good.
No, these are good questions, guys. I mean, like, these are questions any culture, any country that has multiculturalism has to confront, has to ask questions. Some initiatives are well intentioned, but in practice they don't work out very well. Yeah, I mean, these are the big questions I think we all have to ask ourselves at some point. We've seen it in private sector, you see it in public sector. I see the discussion, I'm as a university teacher and an educator and researcher, like I see these discussions in the university. And it's interesting to see like the younger generation's perspective, because I regularly teach like anyone between ages 18 to like 22. Yeah. And like a lot of them are conscious, but like some of them also feel like there might be like too much overreaction, where there might be like so we're going too far with some of this stuff. Yeah. Like there are some kids who actually have sophistication and they're thinking, actually wait, like we support these initiatives, sure, we support the spirit of it, but the execution of it is maybe not going in the direction that we want it to go. And it is interesting, but I think on that topic too, like, you know, we're all like, I'm guessing like late 20s, early 30s kind of point, but like it's interesting because I work with like kids like 10 years younger than me to see like the kind of problems that they think they face in the coming years.
Oh,
and
sure,
like,
dude.
And like every generation has its own problems, and I think the biggest thing that I've noticed is people being like younger generation just being too addicted to social media. Like that's the first thing, and the second thing is also loneliness. Feeling lonely in a time.
Those are correlated.
During school.
Those are correlated. I swear to God, no. I swear to no. Listen, man. Okay,
for sure.
Social media and loneliness are directly correlated with each other. And in my opinion, it's due to the fact that you can't, like, straight up, bro. This like sounds trippy, but like, you can't be in the digital world and the physical world at the same fucking time. If you're gonna have a lot of interaction in the digital world, you're not gonna have a lot of interaction in the physical world, which is why you're gonna be fucking lonely. I just think that's what it is. Yeah. Too many people are on these fucking platforms. There's too many, like, man. There's even the idea. There's been so many. I just want to go back on one thing first. The amount of things that have changed since like 2010. I remember when I first started applying for jobs, it was such a cold thing where they didn't want to know your age, they didn't want to know anything, right? Now I apply for jobs, it'd be like, yo, what's your race?
Oh my God.
Who do you fuck? What was the last person
send me your LinkedIn and your dick size.
Yeah. Who's the last person you voted for? You know what I mean? Yo, like, do you like gangbangs or no? It's like, the
question. Like a slot for your OnlyFans account.
Your TikTok feed.
And then this is like a bank application. It's wild, bro.
What's your OnlyFans account?
Yeah.
Strongly disagree to agree.
Yeah.
You fuck. Strongly disagree.
But even now, even this is my thing. Like, I think the challenge that I have in dating now is that I never had this much access to women that I had interest in. And what I mean by that is that before, when I liked a girl, I just sort of liked her and there was a mystery to her and whatnot, right? But now, like, actually I should avoid saying names, but there's one girl I'm really into, right? And the thing is, like,
here we go.
and so she got like a prominent like Instagram following, which is a problem for me too.
She's gonna watch this, bro.
Yeah, so the issue with her being like a content creator or whatever, right, is the fact that her whole life is on fucking digital, right? So I think it's actually really bad that you can like, I know exactly what she's doing.
Yeah.
All the fucking the mystery's the mystery's gone. The mystery's gone. So I don't care about it anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I don't, like, when I see her, what are we gonna talk about? Hey, how was your day? I already know how it was.
Yeah.
I mean, I already know what happened, right?
She's doing that. She's posting way too much.
Yeah.
Honestly, a lot of things have there's overlap, right? It's like, why is a child home alone on his computer all day? It's because his parents probably working 60 hours weeks, right? Because the system forces them to, because the rent's so high.
Yeah.
Like, who are you gonna blame? Like, the parent? Like, yeah, they're trying to upskill, but at the end of the day, they're probably gonna work overtime, so you can't leave a child alone for a couple of hours. It might be like a whole day, right? It's like, it's not as simple as like, oh yeah, they have a computer, they're online. It's like, dude, like, some of these parents work in other cities.
It's always
right?
neglected.
It's just how the system is set up right now. It's like, yeah.
Can you have a cigar? A cigar?
Do you want to light a cigar up?
Yeah.
I got a whole bag, baby.
I'm down.
I was waiting for this part.
Yeah.
Okay, so we
You want
got
some skewers, guys?
all of them skewers.
Are you sure?
Man, I've got like
thanks.
30 skewers in there, man.
Got 30 skewers.
Dude, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
There's lamb, fatty beef.
Oh, dude, thanks so much.
Shout out to Evie. Is there a favorite?
Oh my God, love the genuine appreciation. I can hear it in your voice.
No, I'm
I fucking love it.
I'm so.
I feel you. No, I feel you, man.
You know what I'm saying?
I feel you.
Munch, man. Fatty beef in there too.
That's what this is.
Welcome to our first mukbang.
Mukbang.
We're doing a mukbang right now on podcast.
Yo, you ever been in gangbang?
No.
That was we're recording. No.
That's probably gonna be like the thumbnail for this video. Ever been a gangbang, bro? Are you fucking?
What are you scared about?
What am I scared of?
Yeah.
Is it insecurity or like?
Like why would I? This is put me in the hot seat. Why would I not be in a fucking gangbang? I think I would just enjoy like banging like one chick at a time instead of having like 4 other dudes walk in like we're fucking like I don't like we're like we're 4 dudes like trying to car wash a girl with our penises or something. Like, scrubbing the fucking windows down, one to the front, doing the hood. The chicks in the middle's you know. That doesn't really sound fun to me, bro. It's like, damn, bro, like, you know, that's a lifestyle.
I don't know. Maybe when the opportunity presents itself.
Okay, so I got 3 types of cigars. I got small ones, and I got the Philly chocolate blunt, and I got the Philly vanilla blunt.
Yo, Eric, can we hit this ball, maybe?
You want to hit the ball on camera?
Go for it.
I don't care.
Oh, fuck, yeah, we're doing that on camera, bro.
Dude, it's legal.
Yeah.
It's true. It's totally legal. Like, it's like...
Yeah, what's hold on, this is
Chocolate's vanilla blunt then.
so I have this thing where like
You put water on that.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Alright, go on. I'll keep talking, we gotta keep the show going. We gotta entertain the fucking YouTubers watching us eat skewers and like smoke cigars.
Man, so one time I matched with this girl. I'm done. Yeah.
Oh, shut up. I bought advice today.
So a couple things about online dating for me. For some reason, I realized that Tinder is the most successful one for me. I have no idea.
Alright, we're talking about Odie's nasty, like, fucking automatic butt plug story.
How does like you? No, how do you even like?
No. So basically, the thing is like, so this happens a lot. Basically, I'll match with girls on online dating applications, and a lot of the girls I match with, they just want to fuck a black guy, right? So like, I sort of understand it, and like, I don't really take them too seriously. So we sort of started laughing about the scenario. So like this girl I met, and then we ended up going to like the stag shop because I was like, okay, well you already know the deal. That's what we're doing here, right? So like go to the stag shop and like go to the stag shop. I got like a butt plug. I got handcuffs.
Is that a lighter?
And then I got like a remote vibrator.
I've got 2 lighters.
That's all good. I'll just use these.
I'm not even the lighter though, fuck. Whatever.
But yeah. Anyhow, so she was a nurse, and I'm not gonna lie, those are like that's like the best lay ever. They're great. It was crazy because like she told me, we're having sex, and then like I'm pretty sure I didn't have a condom on.
I'm pretty sure.
And then she was I remember her dropping this line. You don't have to worry about getting me pregnant, but you might want to get tested after this.
Dude, what the?
For Malaysia, a little bit of Thailand.
Oh, yeah.
But we also make it very, very hard, or we make the onboarding very lengthy because we don't want people who's gonna like if you're gonna pay, dude. Our monthly.
Dude, you guys want some?
I'm okay, man.
Our monthly membership is 125 Singapore dollars a month.
So what's the conversion to Canadian?
Dude, that's like.
That sounds expensive.
175 Canadian.
Whoa!
If you're paying $200,
you guys are making bank.
if you're paying $200 for a dating site, you're not fucking around, man. It's not even at this point. At this point, it's not even a dating site. It's a marriage site. You're not fucking around, man. You're paying $200. You want to have high quality photos, high quality profiles in general. People who are verified.
No, it makes sense because then you screen out anyone who's not serious, which makes sense.
Even just the verification process of like. Who you are, who you say you are. There's no catfishing, right?
Catfishing.
I understand the merit of dating apps 100%. Wait, this is not even my glass, is it?
That's your job. I think it is.
Yeah, but I understand the merit of dating app, but honestly, I don't. No, let me say this. I think that they're so atypical to the operation of human beings, especially when it comes to the proliferation of new human beings, that it is a significant behavioral shift. Significant.
Maybe in the West, man. They've been around for a long time, man.
Bro, the ability to choose out of your geography who you want to fuck and fucking create somebody new with, right? Bro, that's
Isn't
such
that,
a...
Yeah, but isn't this is a Western lens, though, because dating sites have been around in China and Japan for a long time.
Really?
Like, Plenty of Fish has been around.
I didn't know. I
Plenty of Fish, OkCupid have been around.
Well,
Right?
I think evolution.
I'm saying like longer than the 80s?
Biologically.
Well, I mean, the internet's been around for.
That's what I'm trying to say. I just think that it's such a significant and you know.
I think it just depends, man. Like I think more and more people. I agree with Evie's intuitions on this. That like anecdotally, I've seen more and more people using OkCupid or Plenty of Fish or just other kinds of apps, and they just want something different than the swipe apps. And
I'm not saying there's not harmful apps for sure.
Yeah.
But just like anything, there's There's
I think it's
tiers
good
to
and
it,
bad.
right? There's tiers to it, right? Just like you're choosing your tribe. Maybe your tribe is more of like a long-term dating site where
I
you get to know each other. You don't even have video. You have literally just a chat box, like a chat box.
I guess my question is like, okay, when you are able to be, and maybe discriminatory isn't like the word, but when you're able to discriminate so freely with who you want to mate with, like, is that really a good behavioral trait to trade into humanity?
So I don't know if I share your cynicism. I don't think I think it's that much of a problem. I think what's the problem with dating apps is they're too focused on visuals. That's the main issue.
Yes.
And it's not to say visuals aren't important, but there's a lot of things at the end of the day which are more important, like values. Do you share the same values?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would be a more of an innovation is to have a dating app that's a bit more focused.
Yeah, you look like an app like, for example, Monet, right? Monet, I don't know if you guys have used it.
No, never heard of it.
I don't use it. I'm long-term relationship. FYI.
He's telling his wife.
Love my girl.
Yeah.
So Monet,
But he's been there.
there's no
But he's used the app.
there's no like
There's a lot about this
profiles,
stuff.
right? Per se, like there's no
Yeah.
photos.
Okay.
The way you meet is you connect in a game. Like you connect,
Oh,
you choose
wow.
a game, right?
Okay.
It's actually doing really well right now. I think they got,
Interesting.
Yo, that's kind of interesting.
I think they got funding from
like a simple game, right?
yes, like it's like like a drawing game or like poker or whatever. You match, you play a game, you talk,
Poker.
chat, whatever. Right? I think it's a selection of games. I could be telling it wrong. I think initially,
Fucking go fish.
Yeah.
There you go.
Initially it
No,
started.
I don't do this. I'm just out here.
Initially, it started with like I think just drawing, right? Like
Yeah.
you're both drawing
That's
character.
fine. I think drawing's pretty good.
Yeah, there was that one game a
This
a
is
while
pretty
ago.
good.
What was it called? It was like
Yeah.
there was literally a
I like
game
it.
where you
I
would
know,
draw. I can't remember, but anyway,
Yeah.
continue.
No, but so essentially,
I
an
understand.
app like Monet, where they're trying different approach to dating, where they're taking away like visuals, like profiles, so that you don't discriminate, right? You connect on personality. With other apps, where like, I think there was like an app called like IsoDate. IsoDate's a speed dating app, which basically chat roulette. You have to sign up for the events, and you go through and you basically meet people. I think it's the date is 5 minutes. The first date is 5 minutes, and the second date is like 10 minutes. But you have chat roulette essentially, and you're running through like 25 people, whatever, some shit like that. At the end of it, you choose who you kind of like felt a vibe with, and you connect with them after. So there's no like okay, up like I'm looking at this profile, reading whatever. You're like put on the spot, and you're like, oh Adrian, it's going well, blah blah. I had a vibe, whatever.
Yeah.
Next match, right?
Yeah.
So I see your point on like the swiping dating culture, but I think we're now in the phase where there's probably more opportunities, just like
Yeah, for sure.
ways for dating.
Yeah, for
Right?
sure. I think that's a cool concept. Yeah. Just see if you connect on a fun game or something like that, a little icebreaker. And,
That actually makes a lot of sense. I think conversation is key for a lot of relationships, and it's hard to have like genuine, deep conversations here.
No, I think you can find the right girl. You just gotta find the right girl, man.
That's true.
I think my most recent ex-girlfriend, just lots of deep conversations. It just depends, yeah. Just find an educated woman, man. It's all about the educated woman.
Yeah.
You gotta find a woman who likes books, who reads the news, who keeps up with stuff, and.
But I like really pretty women. Nah, I'm joking.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of cute nerds, man. What are you talking about, man? You know?
Oh my god. I
I
will
will
say.
He's found his way. Oh, yeah.
Baddies love software dudes
He's
right now.
found his way in academia.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
Yeah, the baddies. Yeah. You know what's interesting? Like, there's a certain couple of like red flags I hear from like potential suitors. You know what I mean?
Of course,
like,
man.
there's
Tons of
there's certain things that I want to know. For example, I want to see your passport and see how many times you've gone to Miami.
Okay, what
Oh,
the fuck?
fuck.
Dude, what kind of woman
Yeah.
asked that?
Or
Who the
Tulum.
fuck-
Or
Yeah,
Tulum.
I like.
Yo, how many times?
I'm really into scuba diving.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
I see.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
some real gold digger shit. That's some real gold
I,
digger.
I like
That's
scuba
some-
diving. What's the big deal?
That
Why you
that
judge me?
means
I've never heard of that before.
You think I'm tricking?
How many times have you been to Miami? You know,
Happy,
so
happy.
you-
How about look at your passport?
Look at that girl's passport. But how many times have you been in Dubai? How many times have you taken those Dubai trips?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's weird, man. But I hear you. There's all kinds of red flags.
I'll tell you a crazy one. Huge green flag for me.
Green flag.
Yeah, she has less than 1,000 followers.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
You're really about this, eh?
You're really about this, eh?
You're not
Okay.
about that big
All about the
following.
famous people.
That
You know what
content
I
creators
want to
thing.
do with the content creators.
The
No, I
influencers.
hear you.
Like,
Yeah.
if she's really pretty and has less than
Yeah.
1,000 followers, you gotta marry her in 2 months.
Wow.
What the fuck kind of algorithm is this, man? I don't know what kind of... I kind of hear you, but like I think it's too strong, man.
Bring in
That's-
60 days.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any correlation here.
Yeah, you know,
but
Because
oh,
once
I
she
mean, I
realizes
kinda
she's
get it.
hot, boom, 50K.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, I kind of see what you're
Yeah.
saying. Well, that's okay.
There's also a general depreciation value the second a girl moves to Toronto. Now I'm joking.
Oh my god, this guy's so
Toronto Man podcast over here. Holy shit.
No, I hear you, man. I hear you. Fuck, man. Yeah. I hear you, man. Yeah, I hear you.
Now, these are all jokes. I jest.
Yeah, no, I hear you, man. That's
But you know what's hilarious though too? I hear like every time. Okay, I've heard consistently that like women and men both complain specifically about the same exact man and woman in Toronto. Like
Wait, what are you
behaviorally.
talking about?
So like this the colloquial Toronto man and like
Oh yeah, what do you think is this? Okay, this is a funny question. Yeah, what do you think is the average Toronto man?
all the same.
Oh,
How would
I
you
see.
describe?
I see what's on.
How would you? Yeah, like just for fun. Like, what's your idea of Toronto? Like,
Non-committal.
wow. This guy's
He's
cynical.
good at spitting.
Dude,
Good
you're
at spitting.
cynical, man.
It's just
No, I don't agree with that at all. I think most are committal, man.
Generally,
Dude, that's statistically, yeah, I think people are not cheating on each other.
generally still dealing trauma from an ex.
Probably works at a bank. Probably works for like
Yeah.
Rogers Bell and or one of the 4 banks.
Oh, yeah,
Like, has
true,
some
true.
corporate gig.
No, we're like making fun of like all these people that we know. Apologies. I have a lot of friends who work at banks. No hate to the guys, my friends. I have a lot of friends who work at banks, bro.
You have to have done a line of Choto Mate at least once.
What the fuck is that?
Dude, what the fuck is that? Dude, what the fuck?
But like,
Dude, that's fucked up, man.
I definitely think there's a colloquial Toronto man and Toronto female that like both equally hate each other, but always, always dating each other. Yeah, that's what I say.
Wait, what's a Toronto female?
Huh?
What's the average Toronto female? I don't think there's any.
At least 10K Instagram followers and at least 50K on TikTok.
Yo, her hotspots are probably Belfast Love or Rebel on a Friday.
Oh,
Yo,
God.
true.
Oh, not even. But I'll tell you about hotspots, bro. Listen, so there's like
Yeah, that's funny. Man. Yeah.
So okay, basically here's the game in Toronto. I
where's
found
the writer? Oh, it's up here. It's up here.
yeah, Marble,
Yeah, Marble's definitely Marble's definitely up there.
Mademoiselle.
Yep.
If you want to find a girl that does blow, you go to Ruby Soho.
Yeah.
If you want like or locals only is also a good degenerate spot too.
The Portland corner.
Yeah,
Yes.
Penny,
yeah.
Ruby.
Yeah.
They're all
If you find her in Portland, she probably does cocaine and she sucks great dick. Just amazing.
Yo, this conversation is about to get super DJ. No. You know what we need to talk about? We need to talk about. I want to talk about this on camera. Is that we had a conversation a while before, and about like how girls were getting pissed off that guys kept asking them for feed pics. And all I gotta say is that there's maybe one girl out there. There's maybe a lot of girls out there who actually sell feet pics, and like, you know, maybe like that sort of enabled the culture. There's a lot of creepy guys out there. But, like, if you just ask enough girls for feet pics, maybe like
some
one
women
in,
have beautiful feet. I have to say.
well, yeah, man, and like maybe 1 in every 10 girls will give you the feet pics, and we're
See,
saying
no,
that.
I've never understood the foot fetish.
Beautiful feet.
No,
You're
for
just
real.
Like,
Or just,
whoa,
like, beautiful
that's-
legs and
that
feet,
throws
yeah.
me off a bit because I
Yeah.
never considered
Yeah,
this,
me
but
too,
now
me
I'm
too.
considering
Now
it. What
exactly,
the fuck?
exactly, you know
Why
what
is that nice to me now?
Yeah,
What
yeah.
the hell?
You know, I will say I don't understand. I don't understand the foot fetish, but there will be weird times when like I'll see a girl walking around barefoot, and I'll be like, I don't know why that's.
That's
Yeah,
Any part can be erotic or beautiful.
Those feet look so
Yeah.
dirty.
Yeah, it's
Oh my
honestly,
God.
like, even
Yeah.
ears, I'm like, well, this is nice.
Yeah.
You got cute
Sometimes
ears.
you're just like, fuck.
Yeah,
What,
give me
what
ears.
the hell?
Yeah, I'll give you one. Calves.
Yo.
Interesting.
Calves. When you're when she's wearing heels, especially like right shot.
yeah.
Then you see the calf, you're like,
It's
holy
beautiful.
fuck.
Yeah, no, that's a good. That's a good.
All right, like what the fuck?
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying. I know what you're
Whatever
saying.
you need now.
Yeah. This guy. Yeah. No, I know.
So wait, what's one thing that like a girl can? What's one thing any girl can do that'll get you?
Oh, no, we're getting into some fresh and fit topics right now.
It's a good question.
I think people like watching. No. People like watching this shit. This is good.
No.
People like this content.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you an example. There like every now and then there'll be like a trend of clothing, and like for some reason it's like any girl that wears that clothes for me is like, oh, That's
You remember leggings came out in high
that's-
school and
that's-
everyone was like, oh my god, you can see her ass, Jesus Christ.
TNA.
You know what's crazy?
TNA came out.
Like, some
Changed the
girls
game,
in
bro.
high school
Changed the game,
Yeah,
man.
dude, they changed everything. Like, yo, girls were looking fucking slutty as fuck in high school.
It went from girls
No,
wearing
for
like
real. I don't know, but
jeans.
you guys know for real.
Yeah.
If you think about it, like, we came a long way, man. Yo, what the fuck? Yo, these chicks are fucking straight up looking at
Man, I remember.
prostitutes. I was like, what the fuck? In high school, I was like, what the fuck? I was like,
In the 12th grade, I remember being so horny. I remember it being a problem for me.
Of course,
I
of course, man.
It was a problem.
I remember being 17, being like, yo, bro, I can't fucking think. This is a fucking problem. I can't fucking focus on
Yeah, of
Sure.
course, man.
What
No,
the
of course.
fuck?
I know.
Teacher's like, yo, you're not paying attention. You're like, obviously not.
Yeah,
See what's happening here?
No, because I went to a Catholic school too.
Yo, same.
Oh,
You're even worse.
Same.
That's driving you crazy,
Yo,
right? Because you're like,
what's
these chicks are
what's
so...
the square root
Fucking
of like
skirts, bro.
6'9"? Fuck.
Jesus, man.
Yo,
Yeah.
for real, it's true, it's true.
They all
You
pin
start
they
sexualizing
pin
everything.
the kilt up, and you're like,
Oh
what
my
the fuck?
God.
Oh,
What
yeah.
are you doing?
Yeah, what do you do? It's just
I'm
too
in
sexy.
math class. Like,
Yeah, we're in fucking high school.
Yeah.
So I got a friend who went to an all boys school in England, and he felt like
Oh, he's gay as fuck.
well, you guess what? It's true. Yo, it's true. First
I
of
know
all,
guys want to-
first of all, 100%. Second is there was also benefits from his own perspective as a heterosexual from not being distracted by women. Like, what do you guys think about that shit?
Wow.
I'm not supporting it. Like,
Why do you wait?
There's guys interesting. Think about you not having.
Wait,
Don't
like,
get me wrong. The sexual energy has to go
President J,
somewhere.
you-
No. Why do you think gay men unilaterally are successful in life?
No, that's not true. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? What?
A lot of them are very successful, so you know.
A lot of there's a lot of gay successful guys. You don't have to think about pussy. We have to think about capturing pussy all the fucking
Okay,
time.
but you gotta think about cock. We
Yeah,
gotta
you
think
have
about
to
symmetric.
Get distracted.
Actually, it's even
For real,
worse.
it's
You gotta think about
fucking-
dick, and now you're surrounded by
No,
women.
but
There's no barrier to dick when you're gay though.
That's true.
You go on Grindr at lunch, you go suck a dick at a
It's
glory
true,
hole.
it's true,
You know
it's
what I'm
true,
trying to
it's
say?
true. It's actually true.
Dude, he just said that on camera.
Yo, Bay Street, there's tons of these dudes sucking dick.
That's what I'm
No, for real.
saying.
I know this because I have a gay
That's
friend who
what
told
I
me.
know gay guys.
I know
I'm trying
gay
to say what he's talking about. Yo,
I know gay guys too.
they're so
And they tell me
satisfying.
stories.
That-
Yeah,
yeah.
I know. They tell me stories. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah,
there's fucking
man.
Tons of dudes. Yo, it's actually crazy, man.
Yo, okay.
I'm sure you guys know, but like for real, if you guys know some guys, like I know some guys, yeah, dude, there's fucking the BMO guys going off at lunch. You suck.
Yeah, they suck bare dick, bro.
I have friends
It's
who
like-
Bare dick, bro.
Because it's almost like imagine everyone is sexy, all the dudes are sexy, or they're at least like a 7. Because like
There's no
my neighbors
bar-
are like fit. They typically like take care of them.
I actually wanted to talk about this
So, like, from
earlier
that
about
from their
how
perspective, like, yes, it's a hot
being
chick, why
gay
would
on
you-
Grindr is
I-
next
I-
level.
I-
Imagine
tons of
going
hot
on like
chicks,
Tinder
I
and you
just
can get
fucking-
almost
I
any
bet
shit.
at
You
least
can get them to
one
come
I
to your
hate,
office and
right?
yeah, it's crazy,
There's
bro.
probably more attractive gay dudes than there are attractive lesbian females.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. If you guys want to spit game, go right to the camera and
What
say
I-
it yourself. I'll give you the clip.
No,
I'll give you the clip after.
no,
If you want to spit game, go right to the camera and
all
say
the
it.
gay dudes I know are like
bro.
objectively like probably
okay,
like
no,
8
no.
to 9. Like they're like
So which
Jack.
okay,
Objectively,
No,
Evie, say it to the camera. Say it to the
No,
camera.
no, no,
all the gay dudes I know look good.
Say that shit to the camera, bro.
I'm gonna slow down for you. So I live with a gay.
The camera makes it so much more fun.
I lived with this gay guy for a period of time.
Are you gonna tell the story? Yo, listen to Odie's. This story is fucking crazy. Listen to the story.
So I lived with this gay guy for a period of time, and basically he taught me, right, that like gay guys are just guys that fuck guys. You know what I'm trying to say? The
Of
thing
course.
is, all men are perverts at the end of the day, right? So now imagine that the person you're trying to fuck has like no qualms with just fucking right now. You know what I'm trying to, like, there's no barriers. So there was no barriers to sex for him. There was no thinking. You know what I'm trying to say? It was like, yo, you're gay, I'm gay, yo, let's go. You know what I'm trying to say?
3, 2, 1. Dana
There's no
White's just like
setup.
fucking.
There's no
Get me
setup
off
to
the
it. You know
line.
what I'm trying to say? Honestly, he made me realize how heterosexual I am because I'm like, the amount of headaches I go through with the women in my life, bro. Gay guys just go fuck a dude. You know, there's no fun. There's no like thoughts. Just go
it's
do it.
crazy.
It's literally a message away from what I've heard.
There's so much happier.
There's so much polyamory too.
Yeah,
There's so much polyamory. There's so much like multiple fuck
so anyhow,
I'm one of my friends. He's got like 5 relationships simultaneously. I'm like, what the fuck? But they're obviously not super deep. But they're like medium deep.
This guy lived
and
with
they're just fucking and like constantly. I'm like,
this
what
guy
the
lived
fuck?
with 30 guys in 1 week.
Dude, that's so many guys.
He fucked 30 guys in 1 week, bro.
This guy's a savage. This guy's putting in work. That's like, how do you? That's like 1 per hour, bro. Like you're gonna work the work week.
That's a busy work week, bro.
Busy work week. 5
minutes, 7 hours. 7 hours every day.
I came home once, right? I came home once.
Oh yeah, this is actually crazy.
I came home once.
This story's crazy. Watch out, guys.
No, it's a 2-bedroom condo, right? Like, so I came home once and I thought we were getting robbed. And the reason why I thought we were getting robbed, like, so his bedroom is closed, but it sounds like there's a fight happening in there. And I swear to God, bro, like, the most violent, like, it sounds like motherfuckers getting thrown across rooms, bro. There's like, boo, like, there's like, yo, it's like, there was no love there. I'm not trying to say that.
No fucking God.
Primitive sexuality.
Yo, bro,
Pure
it was
primitive sexuality.
the wildest shit, bro. The fucking crazy. And then this guy comes out. He has the audacity to tell me after all this is done. Because usually what I do, my response to this is go hide in my room. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he comes out and he says, "Yo, bro, this guy literally knocked me out. He slammed my this guy slammed my head against the wall so fucking hard." And basically like a couple weeks after that, I had to move out.
Of course you have to move out, man. Dude,
because the pandemic started, bro, and then like
and you weren't gonna live the pandemic.
Bro, no,
with
so the pandemic started, and I was dating this girl, and she was very cognizant about COVID. She's like, I have a 5-person like bubble, right? He's fucking like 30 guys per week.
Like,
so she's like, I can't do this shit
right now.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Fucking 5 people.
Oh, we got
Dude, that's so many people, and I believe it. I believe it. That's so many gay dudes, man.
Yeah,
I would think it would be impossible to think straight if you're gay and there's
see,
like
it's
all
opposite
these
though. No, it's
dudes
opposite.
like
He was able to think very like cognizantly because he never has. See, when you're straight,
actually, because there's no
Also,
scarcity.
a lot of those guys also might not be actually gay.
Oh, interesting.
But gay guys also like going after straight guys.
Of course, yeah.
Straight and married
Yeah.
guys, yeah, right?
that's actually.
I feel like next episode we need to get a gay guy on here just to like fucking even this out. No, but I want to confirm some questions with him. We gotta get a gay guy and be like, is this shit true? And you know, the people be like, yeah, man. And like, worse, bro. We keep the secrets from you straight guys.
I don't know, man. Like the shit this guy told me, the shit I was exposed, bro, it was crazy, man. They have like, this guy was having regular gangbangs.
Yeah, that's wild, man.
Like regular, it was like anyhow.
But you know, it just doesn't feel like I couldn't imagine living in that circumstance. That's all I'm saying.
See,
that's crazy.
Here's the thing. My thing basically is that like, when you're heterosexual, you have to constantly have like low key like pussy on your mind, especially when you're single, because you're either seeking pussy or seeking better pussy. Right?
Okay.
And there's always a process for that,
very
right?
Darwinian perspective.
Yeah,
go on. Yes.
When you're straight, you're seeking pussy or just better pussy.
So
shit in the fucking camera.
So that always takes part of like your CPU. You know what I'm trying to say?
Of course.
Your mental straight guy
if
CPU.
you're gay, bro, you're basically a swipe away from like just instantly just
I was a lawyer.
no conversation, just right into it.
Damn. Isn't that kind of your point around social media, like not social media, online dating in general?
Oh, it's great for the gays.
But like the idea that it's so accessible, right?
Yeah. Maybe it's not good for the gays actually. Maybe it's better. Well, you know what? I actually think. You know what's crazy? Online dating is probably the best thing for gay people.
Well, they invented it. Grindr was invented by God. Dude, Grindr was the first app. I
didn't know that.
Dude, Tinder is a mirror of Grindr.
Because how would you find other people that are? You're not trying to say that. Yeah.
Dude, that blows my mind.
That makes sense, though. That makes
I've never
a lot
looked
of
at
sense.
Grindr, so I don't know the interface.
And you know what's funny?
It's exact same as Tinder.
It goes back to what I was trying to say before. The whole purpose of these apps are to be able to discriminate against. Not discriminate. I'm not trying to say, but I'm trying to. If the whole purpose of it was like, I want to be able to find someone like me. You know what I'm trying to say? So it's like. I don't know.
I
think the further elaboration when you go into like a Tinder or like a Bumble, right? And especially the ones like the ones that are designed for you to actually like end up in a long-term relationship with somebody. I think it's a bit weird that we now have the ability to completely discriminate in who your long-term romantic partner is going to be.
But that's also that can be a good thing. It's not about discriminating. It's also just about choosing what works for both parties.
Maybe
it's just an economic maximization of preferences.
But there's a lot of things.
It's efficient.
But there's a lot of things you may not know. So, like for example, maybe there's like some.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some random Tamil liberal girl who I would love, like.
I understand.
But I never would like actually end up being.
Ever.
Well, vice versa.
Like,
but you don't have the apps is just an addition to the meat space life, though. Too.
I
you
agree.
can still go talk to people.
Well, no, because now I feel, and maybe this is a city thing, right? Yeah. I feel like in the
awkward?
In the city,
talking to chicks
in the city, basically.
I understand. I don't.
Yeah, in the city, it's almost like now you're encouraged to do more so like app dating than like I feel like some girls get like. They don't like being confronted in person. To be asked to go out on a date.
And then as a guy, you're also kind of like, fuck, I don't know if I can come up to you and do this because I feel like you're not gonna like this.
Yeah.
So there's just like this double barrier there.
No, for sure, yeah. No, I was you were the person who said that like, online dating is sort of retraining people not to like hit on girls in public. So there might be like one really sexy girl at the bar. And like out of maybe 50 guys, maybe one guy will have the audacity to walk up to her. Everyone else is gonna be like, yo, she's like too hot, or like this and that, or like, yo, she's like, I don't want to like piss this girl off, and like there's more like a shield now. Back in the day, before there was no alternative, it was like all bravado. It was all bravado. It was like, yo, like whoever's gonna fucking, everyone's gotta shoot their shot. If you fail, you fail.
Yeah.
No. Dude.
You know what? But it's funny. I will say this though, I think because of that, I have had a much easier time dating now because it is really easy to talk to girls in person. Because so little people actually do talk to them. It's very easy. Like the hottest girls, it's that's adding like that. The girl, the women that I find the most attractive, I feel because I.
All right.
You made the point that basically like we're not talking to like individuals, you're talking to a community.
Yeah.
So think about like when you start doing that, you start like checking all your boxes.
Yeah.
Right? And in a way, I feel like the systematic nature of academia kind of does that too. Correct me if I'm wrong. You tell me.
Just say again. It does what?
So the idea that like, okay, the whole theory that I had was that like academia was like where people would that was the vehicle.
It's supposed to express ideas.
That's the vehicle for people to express ideas.
You know we're podcasting.
Great. Now a lot of people didn't vibe with academia, and they just sort of got left out, unfortunately, right?
Yeah.
Then they're like, where the fuck do I go?
Yeah.
Then vlogging became a thing. Social media became a thing.
Yeah.
And suddenly those people were like, oh, now I have a vehicle, right, to say shit.
Yeah.
Now, as we kind of become more diverse and we're like moving forward, very progressive and everything, the people who are vlogging and shit have to adhere to these social, what would you call it? Virtual signaling, essentially. They got to be able to check all these boxes to make sure they're talking to the community and respecting the community as a whole, and they're not really speaking to an individual anymore, basically, was the point we kind of arrived at. So I was curious if, like, with academia, do you find that it's, like the systematic nature of academia, I'm wondering if it became systematic that way, as a way of checking off a bunch of boxes in order to, like, effectively talk about this shit?
You just need a technical language to talk about stuff. I mean, the history of science is the history of more and more precise theories, right? And more precise language. So
right.
I think it's just by nature of any expertise. I mean, like any field, anything you do, you can be a mechanic, you can be a guitarist. There's a technical component, right?
Sure.
To any activity that you do, there's knowledge, and it just becomes really specialized. And in that sense, universities are no different, I think, than aspects of the general public. You just find anyone who's an expert in anything. Just think of it that way. It's just like, I don't think experts can be found anywhere. That's my point.
Yeah.
But I also see your point, and I'm agreeing that
it's the
specialization is just a consequence of that expertise.
My only thing about specific academia within university is that it's extremely. Okay, I found specifically in the social sciences aspect that they're averse to practical experience or practical opinions.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, for example, I literally remember I got called a racist at McMaster University, right?
You got
because like
that sucks.
There was a paper on like Hobbes and Rousseau.
Oh yeah.
And basically it was like, is the nature of man that either we're born like good and we end up being bad due to the nature of like society. We're just born bad people. And the premise of my paper was that like, well, considering the fact that these are European philosophers, maybe this only applies to Europeans.
Yeah, well,
That's cool. That's a cool point to make.
That's a good point.
That's a cool thing
and
to explore.
I was like, if these are the fundamental, and I was like, if these are the fundamental doctrines of democracy, maybe that's a great example as to why democracy has not been successful to other areas of the world.
Wow.
Dude, well said. Well said. But see, this guy.
That's a great point.
Dude, that's such a great point to bring up, and I'm sorry to hear. If you were my student, I'd be like, yo, this is excellent. Outside the box thinking.
The rebuttal by
an
overweight white woman was, I am a racist.
I mean, naturally.
Dude, that's so funny, man. Dude, that's so funny. Overweight white woman calling out your fucking black man. Over this comment.
Yo, I think
it's not even approaching racism.
I'm not sure. So it wasn't her, but there was also another scenario where I had a TA at McMaster tell me that she thought that she was like, basically she told me, this is what she said. She's like, I believe that you plagiarized this essay.
Wow.
Not off of the fact that we have any evidence of like, because obviously they had all like the whatever, right? She's like, this is above your reading level.
Oh my god.
Dude, that's fucking
racist.
Dude,
that's
what
fucking
the
racist, bro.
Holy
That's
fuck.
fucking racist.
Yo, what the fuck?
That's fucking racist.
I'm so sorry to hear
That's
that.
what's racist.
I'm actually so sorry to I'm actually so
how
sorry.
discouraging, man.
Dude, that's fucking
How the fuck are
discouraging.
you supposed to put any
Dude,
effort
what
into like
the
your
fuck,
papers
man?
and shit like that when those are the people?
I had a lot of challenges within the social sciences, like faculty at McMaster. It had nothing to do with my academic prowess. It was ideological issues.
We're not gonna say.
It was all ideological issues, and I always found it fucking crazy. Because it was like nuts. And it was interesting because like I had some professors that were like, I had one professor, I actually remember, Nabaldo Galagulios. I'll never fucking forget this guy.
Wow, what a name.
Because this guy, basically he was like he's from Chile. And he got exiled from Chile.
Oh, that's a good start.
Doing Pinochet's fucking like
that's fucked up.
Yeah, right, So he was like crazy, like against socialism, against all that shit. Like he was like super against all that. So his class was crazy. I got that was the highest grades. You understand? Because me and him vibed. And it's interesting though, like, the interesting thing I found, if I'm being serious now though, that like, I'm not sure if it's the truth, but like, I found at McMaster specifically, in their social sciences faculty, that for you to be successful there, it was more ideological based. You weren't allowed to challenge ideas.
Yeah.
Essentially, it was your ideology is what allowed you to excel from like from a grade perspective.
It's been a general challenge,
that's really unfortunate.
Liberal arts.
That's really unfortunate, man.
That's tough.
Yeah, I don't know. There's ideas everywhere, all sorts of stuff, and the world's a crazy world, man. We live in a crazy world.
Yeah.
True, man.
Yeah, I have so much respect for academia though, like as a whole.
Yeah, well,
Aside
I mean,
from the
especially the
challenges,
sciences.
like-
I mean, physics and math, like, incredible.
Expanding human consciousness.
Yeah,
This is
man.
so much.
No, literally.
Yeah, we're trying
to enlighten humanity, because without
critical thinking.
Without critical thinking and just like research in general, man, dude, like if you just look at what caveman times were like when they didn't understand anything, they didn't understand medicine, they didn't understand childbirth, they didn't understand DNA.
Oh, yeah.
Like you would like
the baseline of where we're at now compared to 50 years ago, just like the general populace is just smarter, right?
Yeah.
So like, which means we have
IQs
more
have gone up in the
nuance.
past 40 years.
Yeah, which means we have more nuance, more discussions. There's hopefully less inequality because there's more understanding. Like, if you're like born into like the 1920s, you're like, basically, you're fucked, man. You're like probably every rule you're born into is already pre-existing, and you're like, you have like no hope. Not no hope, but you're fucked.
it's gonna be tough, bro.
I still think there's a large part. Actually, my thesis for my undergrad was on the growing wage gap, right? And essentially how that would change a lot of dynamics, specifically in Canada, from
Did they
like a
call you
policy
racist?
perspective. Yeah, that too.
Well, it's a growing wage gap for what?
That guy. So basically,
Between what?
so like I remember being in school. The one thing they always talked about was the polarity of wealth, right? And it was just the fact.
Like men making more than women.
No, What if people who are making money are making more money than people who aren't making money? It sounds very simple and very stupid, but it's like basically as time goes on, people who have access to capital are creating multiples on that capital. People who don't have capital are not.
Oh, yeah.
And to even like I think the old colloquial term was that like before it was like you know, savers keep making more money and, you know, people spenders don't, right? But now it's almost like people who are capable of investing are essentially at a spot. People who are capable of investing with a certain amount of capital are at a point now of essentially of terminal global capital. So, for example, if you had $1 million portfolio and you're guaranteed 8% growth year over year, no matter what, you don't have to worry because essentially $800,000 is fucking great. You know what I'm trying to say? Like year over year. Well, no, that's not that. But you get what I'm trying to say here. If you're able to hold a certain amount of capital, you're able to very easily invest into areas where essentially you'd be provided income or multiples on that capital where you don't have to really worry about like how you're getting your income. Whereas people who are still concerned about how they collect their income have to be concerned about getting a job, like, you know, keeping that job, all of these things. There's basically been just like a growing gap in people who have money and people who don't have money. And
in terms of where their like mind is at, in terms of where they're at it, like where they're thinking, what they're forced to think about.
It's not even. I would say it's more so about like what they're doing with their life, right? So, and the interesting thing is basically this wealth gap this wealth gap is increasing as population increases. So basically, as more people come into this world, right, there are more people with less money, right, and less people with a majority of money in the world,
of course, yeah.
right. And I think this change. So I've been talking about this, and this is sort of what I want to talk about. Structural functionalism, and I think a great way to sort of even approach this right now is post-pandemic. I see this like very prevalently. I see a lot of people work in tech sales. You work maybe 2-3 hours per day, and you're making 90 to 120 base salary. With commission, you're making 160 plus, maybe 200K, right? Tech sales, and you're working again, like I said, maybe 8 hours per week, right? Because you're afforded to be able to work from home, you can do those kind of things. You're growing your wealth like crazy. You don't have to worry about it. You're looking for new opportunities to invest. You can't even find enough opportunities, right? Whereas people who are essentially not forced, but whose skills are more suited to be like physical, to do physical work. So let's say hospitality, let's say anything to that extent, right? You are now forced to not only make less money, but you're spending more money to get to work. And in my opinion, it's literally creating a diversion in lifestyles completely.
Oh, it's a digital divide.
Exactly. It's not even just a digital. It's a complete.
That's right.
It's a complete lifestyle divide. And so what I'm trying to say is that like that gap in wage was happening prior to the pandemic, but the pandemic really accelerated that, and now I'm really seeing it. In downtown Toronto, you truly do see a class of people who literally are doing shit all for their lifestyles, and like absolutely fucking nothing for like their high value lifestyles. Whereas there's a whole population of people who literally still have to go to work, have to commute into work, take the TTC, do this, that, the other, right? And they're making less money. They're struggling. Their lifestyles are shit. You know what I mean? And I'm wondering what I'm wondering, but I think I already see what the long-term ramifications of this is, right? I just think us generationally, as we grow older, we're sort of starting to experience it. I think everyone in this room is lucky to be on one side of that paradigm than the other, right? But I think like it's really, it like the growing differences that we as a society in our generation deal with when it comes to income, when it comes to the amount of wealth you have and the lifestyle you have to deal with because of that, in my opinion, are becoming a lot more prevalent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You're almost in a streamline where it's really easy to make a lot of money. It's really easy for you to make a lot of money, or it's really hard for you to make a small amount of money.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
it's
true.
a sad world, man.
Yeah.
It's a sad world.
But I've been speaking on this for I think it like
I'm curious how you bridge that, you know.
And you don't. There is no bridging of it. And honestly, I think we're seeing the issues of it. And like I think, okay, so for example, in South America, there's like certain countries where you see crazy statistics where like 80% of the females in that country are doing prostitution, right?
Jesus what? 80%?
80% Cuba.
Oh,
80%.
Oh wow!
Wow! And I think you.
Well, I had no idea.
And I think you.
Dude, that's staggering.
Yeah. And I think you look at what's happening right now.
4 out of 5.
And you look right now in social. Like, you think you look right now. What's
Like
happening.
they have to do at least some prostitution on the side. At least. Oh,
yeah.
okay, but that's still sad.
And I think we look at what's happening right now on social media, right? I anecdotally have spoken to a lot of girls that have secret fucking OnlyFans. I don't think we're too far away from that. I know a lot of like working girls who have to.
Oh wow, yeah. So it's almost like everyone's on a part-time gig.
You gotta survive, bro. You know what I mean?
At least part-time part of the gig.
There are so many real.
I know what you're saying.
There's so many real aspects of the world that we live in that are not properly acknowledged in mainstream media or even the mainstream discussion of things. Because I feel like there's such a level of embarrassment based on like the fact that you live in a Western culture, Western country, and are maybe not living like a lifestyle that you believe you should be living, but like. Yeah, man, there's a lot of people in the city itself that like live crazy lifestyles just to survive being here. You know what I mean?
I understand. It's unfortunate.
Yeah. Like the girls, I knew this one girl who used to like sell, she used to sell her socks on Instagram.
Oh my God! What the? It's like shit. Japan shit. Man.
It is Japan shit.
Man, it's on the topic of stuff like that, it's just. But what's really sad is like how high HIV rates are in like certain African countries.
Yeah, but
like the numbers so like Lesotho, small country inside of South Africa, dude, 25% of adults have HIV.
It's fucking crazy, bro.
That's so sad. In South Africa, it's like over like 12% or something.
Yeah, well, like
Tanzania, same thing. It's like so sad.
Growing up in Kenya, we had like
we're still in an HIV epidemic, 100%. There's
growing up in Kenya, man, there was so many people that died of AIDS that it became like a normal. I didn't even think it was a problem.
Fuck.
I know. Isn't that sad?
Yeah,
like we still have so far to go. Like I feel like we really have but it's amazing what modern medicine has done. Like we cured polio. Polio used to be like before 1955. It's crazy thinking about like how many people. Everyone knew at least one person who had polio in the U.S. And like we take it for granted. Like people, like kids were like fucking paralyzed by polio. Yeah. Like it's like over like hundreds of thousands of deaths. Like really sad.
Did they find a cure for AIDS recently?
Cure for AIDS? No.
No.
No. I think you're talking about no AIDS. No, I don't. No, what do you think is HIV? AIDS, I don't think has any cure, so I don't think that.
If they
HIV though, well, you know what's interesting? Moderna is actually doing phase 1 trials on an HIV cure.
Oh wow!
It's actually pretty interesting. Yeah, the stock went up like 10% a single day because so like it's crazy because Moderna, they're right in Boston, Massachusetts with Harvard. And like that whole nexus might I think Moderna could be like one of the hugest fucking biopharmaceuticals in the future. Like already the stock went up. I think as a company, I think like there's a lot of really high talent fucking.
All right,
so it's incredible. I mean, like the COVID vaccine is like reasonably effective.
So we've gotten into Moderna, we've gotten into AIDS. Now let's get into conspiracies.
Conspiracies.
Conspiracies. Okay,
so have you heard the conspiracy of the origin of AIDS?
Okay, yeah, tell him.
This is gonna get real fucking squirrely.
This is just gonna get so squirrely.
So there was some Belgian scientist that was basically like trying to figure out some treatment for polio, I believe it was.
Okay.
And essentially, so what he was doing was that he was in the Congo and like he needed to derive some chemical from like monkey liver or something like that.
Start fucking it.
No. What happened basically was that like they were testing. He's just testing in the Congo. So he was just testing the Congolese people. So he was taking essentially like this fucking. He was taking a substance from monkeys and putting it into Congolese people.
Oh, that's fucked up.
What?
Dude, that's super fucked up.
Yeah.
Dude, that's you know what? Maybe. So I actually don't know the history of AIDS.
So after
I actually don't know the history of AIDS.
So after he was doing this, AIDS happened. But they did a investigation.
Yeah.
And the investigation did find.
Yo, I believe it. They were injecting tuberculosis into fucking the Tuskegee in the United States on African American males. They did this in the 1930s.
But I should say
also in Saskatchewan, they tested influenza vaccines on First Nations people.
Yeah.
For real. Yo, you know what's even crazier about Canada? So
Wow.
Did you know until 1970s, Alberta had a eugenics policy where they actually sterilized many people who are either like disabled or who are First Nations. No, for real.
Let's
This
get
is
into
bad.
eugenics.
Tens of thousands of people.
Let's talk about this
it's really
one.
Sad. Like, Canada's done some dark stuff. We
No,
did until 1970s.
let's talk
No,
about
for real.
Let's talk about no
For real.
Let's talk
Like
about
this-
eugenics and the first wave of feminism. Let's talk about that one.
Oh my
Let's
God.
talk about Needy McClung. Let's
Oh
talk
my
about the originators
Oh
of
man, there's a lot of
feminism.
history, science,
Yeah, let's talk
Oh
about
my
this.
God.
This is a
Well,
this
I don't
is
know.
a
I mean, like.
oh, the dicey one.
Well, we can make it relevant for
Well, no,
people who have not studied
let's-
history
let's-
too. You you got to make it relevant so
Okay,
people
no, so
understand who haven't
okay,
studied history.
so
So I think the
yeah.
key question
Yeah.
is we have things like CRISPR. We can do gene editing. We're getting closer and closer to a point that you can start selecting for like things like hair color, eye color potentially within the next couple of years, and make it commercially feasible. And there's going to be a lot of open questions about the choices people are going to make. Are people what are people going to start playing God too much? That the main issue I have is that the randomness of genetic mutations in standard birth cycles. That if we start fucking around with that too much, like we can produce by accident like kids with Down syndrome or stuff that we don't even foresee as like a necessary gene not to fuck with in order for it to have normal function.
Yeah.
So like
We don't
there's
know.
actually a lot of false negatives. Like
Yeah.
you can totally fuck it up really
A
easily.
lot of false
and like
negatives.
my friends, a lot
Shit
of
would just work, and we're like, oh yeah,
like,
obviously.
it's
but
fine. Then you just do
no,
one
it
little
didn't.
thing off. It's like no, but
Not
nature
what we
just
thought.
whereas natural birth right, without gene editing, like we have normal function.
I heard what it is that if you edit the genes, you can trigger a disease that
Yes,
you won't
exactly.
figure out 100 years from now, and you could potentially that's a futuristic plot.
Yeah,
where,
yeah.
Like, they edit. It's almost like I think in Star Trek they edit genes, and then you create some fucked up disease in the future that 100 years now
Yeah, yeah.
humans are experiencing. It wipes out the entire population because
Wow.
everyone has been bred with this
So
disease.
so I want to go back for a second, bro.
That's
Okay.
wild.
So
Futuristic
I'm
plot.
It's fucking crazy.
I'm getting her name wrong, right? But I do want to touch on the fact that like the first women's suffrage movement of the early 1900s.
Is it Mary Wollstonecraft?
Yeah, and there was
Yeah.
I forget. It's something McClung. I forget her name.
I don't know.
Marshall McLuhan.
No.
That's a UFC.
Marshall McLuhan.
No. She is a prominent woman of the Canadian women's suffrage movement. She actually has a park named after her.
I wish.
Anyhow,
I don't know.
so here's the thing. They were huge advocates of eugenics.
Yeah.
There were
Well, hold on.
huge-
There's positive and there's negative eugenics.
But they.
No, positive. I don't mean in the good sense of positive. I mean like positing eugenics.
Okay,
So
yeah.
positive eugenics is I want my kid to be really good at biology.
Yeah.
Negative eugenics says we're going to sterilize people, or what the Nazis did. We're going to kill
Yeah.
people. There's a distinction between positive and negative eugenics.
So the negative
So-
eugenics. So it's really interesting that like a lot of so and again third rail topic whatever. But
because like everyone was into eugenics in like pre 1940s.
Yes. And even this is the one everyone has an issue with what's it called what's it called in the U.S. They call it like the abortion clinics. Like they have it like there's like a child. I forget what it's called. Essentially, though, the initial inception of abortion clinics was literally from a eugenics purpose to not allow the proliferation of black children.
So there's a lot of dark medical history.
Yeah,
there's a lot of dark medical history.
Like eugenics in the late 1800s and the early 1900s, its purpose essentially, the reason why they literally sterilized Aboriginal people because they were like they're lesser than our society. So we want less of them, right? Do not allow them to proliferate. That was a lot of the like people.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think when people ask a lot of questions, and honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I'm very drunk right now.
That's
Okay,
okay.
I think we'll do 5 minutes. I'll turn the camera off and just chill.
No.
You wanna keep going with the
Yeah,
camera?
I gotta keep going on this one, right? Okay.
Holy shit, man. What the
I gotta close the loop.
You're going to the bathroom. You're going to the bathroom.
I gotta close the loop. No, because when people ask the question, like, okay, and then again, this is a fucking Kanye thing, right? Like, why is abortion so like highly advocated?
Let's talk about abortion.
Why is abortion so highly advocated in marginalized communities? This is a question. You know what I'm
I
trying to
didn't know
say?
that actually.
Yeah. This is actually another thing that's asked because basically they're like, hey, like, is it a question of population control? Because at the end of the day, you wonder in the U.S. specifically, if there has been a black population there even like for so long, how is it that they only encompass 10% of the general population? 10, 11%. You know what I'm trying to say?
I don't know.
It's weird how
I would
those
guess mortality rate's probably higher. I think mortality rates are higher for African Americans
100%.
compared to any other demographic.
There's just less of them, aren't there?
100%.
There's just less black people in the U.S.
That's
Yeah.
true. Yeah. What is it about? Like over 12%? What's the percentage?
People think it's like 50. It's not. It's
it's
like
not
12.
50.
No, people think it's 50. It's
No,
not.
I think that's completely wrong.
Well, no, for black people, for black people,
50.
for black people in the
You know,
U.S.
it is in Florida. It isn't like
Yeah,
Alabama with like 50. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
There's certain regions that will have a lot,
Yeah.
but not across the whole U.S. It's completely wrong.
It's like an African country if it was.
It's not fucking African country.
I'm just gonna go back to the initial third row topic. So eugenics seems to be an actual thing in society, in my opinion, right? It seems to me that there was definitely some sort of this concerted approach in terms of allowing certain populations to propagate within the North American bloc and certain other ones not to. And it's really interesting that certain communities advocate abortion more so than other communities. That's the interesting part. Yeah.
I hear you. I don't know if I'd call it eugenics, but I'll just say that's cultural fact. I say eugenics is typically state organized. The state has to have a clear role in this.
Yeah.
But what's crazy is
that's the one. Why did it take me so long to understand?
Planned Parenthood.
Planned Parenthood. The origins of Planned Parenthood.
Yeah, there you go.
With Margaret Sanger.
Oh yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. You know what's crazy is the Khmer Rouge, Cambodia, right? Last half of the 1970s. What's crazy is they had everyone wear black.
Yeah.
Yo, that's fucking
man.
trippy as fuck. That's so trippy. Everyone wearing the same, just fucking black. You know they killed a quarter of the population?
Yeah,
man.
Yo, it's one of the saddest things in human
They
history.
killed the 25 smartest people.
Dude, it's like,
I told you, I
25%
backpacked through there for like 2 months.
Yo, Cambodia's
Yeah.
nuts. That history to me is fucking
Could you
cold.
expand on
It's
that?
very extreme. It's a very extreme.
So, what is the Khmer Rouge?
It's
No,
the
it's the
communist
communist regime during the time of Cambodia, 1975, 1979. You know what's crazy too is the U.S. actually provided weapons to the Khmer Rouge. So they actually sold weapons in 1970.
The regime was essentially they were purging Western and really any educated families, individuals, setting the country back to essentially the Stone Ages.
Yeah.
Wow. It's one of the craziest things I've ever seen.
It's one of the stupidest things I've ever seen.
They wanted to pull back anything that was advancing or affecting cultures. So, for example, they targeted doctors, chefs, librarians, historians.
Chefs?
Yeah. yep.
Food, bro.
Yeah.
I ran through that in my mind real quick.
I'm like, why are they killing shit?
It's
Wow.
so sad, man.
It is sad.
Because I went
It
there
shows
and
you
I was
brainwashing. Yo, that's pure brainwashing.
I was there for 2 months.
Yo, it's some of the worst brainwashing.
I was there for 2 months, and the fucked up part was you go around anywhere, whether you're in like Phnom Penh, Siem Reap, anywhere, they're like Cambodian food is burger and fries. Because everyone who knew how to cook Cambodian food has been killed.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Like you imagine you're a child and you're trying to learn
that's actually fucked.
Imagine
Dude,
your
that's
child,
so
you're trying to learn
fucked.
your mother's stew.
Dude, this is
The
so.
stew's gone. It's gone. Your mother was
Well,
killed,
that's
man.
This is human history.
Yeah, man.
Isn't it crazy what humans are capable of? That's one thing about studying
That's
history.
like
Humans are
Canadian
capable
food,
of
no?
anything.
Dude, people
good
to
and
mummify
bad.
people and spend like shitloads of money doing
Dude,
that.
anthropology is so interesting because
The
it's studying
pyramid- the
history's found-
pyramids-
the pyramids are fucking crazy, dude.
They had someone because they legitimately thought if we sacrifice all these slaves building this motherfucking pyramid, this guy's gonna get to heaven. Like, no fucking people died building the pyramids, bro. And then the alien, and then the modern building the aliens built it.
No. There's actually there's been a lot of evidence that actually
Aliens did build it.
No. There's been a lot of evidence that purports that people that build the pyramids
We're not slaves.
No, they weren't slaves at all.
They actually were not slaves. That's true.
It was actually
That's true. Yes,
Not-
correct.
not-
That's correct.
not
Yes,
only-
I know. That's actually a
not only voluntarily, but it was like a good job. It was like yo,
It was actually stonemasonry stuff like this. No, for real.
So if you want to see a culture that's, unfortunately very far back and behind, go to Cambodia.
Yeah.
They'll never get that. They basically have to almost reset the entire culture, right? Because they have to learn new foods, like new.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah,
like,
that's fucked.
new
man.
cuisines.
Dude, that's like information poverty.
It's crazy how much of an impact that has. So we don't know what our food is.
So
it's straight information.
So what I'm trying to touch on here.
Fuck.
What I'm trying to touch on here, and I've been doing incorrectly, and I think some black people have been trying to touch on it. Basically, it's like I think a lot of black people, specifically who've dealt with the North American experience, what they're trying to say is that like, hey, we've been dealing with a weird infrastructure of things that's been really been fucking us over, right? And we're noticing now that it's encompassing more people. It's almost like what you're saying with the Khmer Rouge. It's like a destruction of society, a destruction of cultures. It's like a focus on certain mandate of following certain things, right? And it's interesting now how like I'll give you an example, like you hear a lot of white dudes complain about like so Dave Chappelle makes a joke, right? Like I'll say it freely, right? Dave Chappelle makes a joke basically is like a lot of white dudes these days are getting nigga treatment. Because basically, yeah, I'm trying to say because it's like growing up in North America, being a black guy, I always noticed how like a lot of black dudes are really discriminated against. And it wasn't even really. It was almost like amongst media, your character is demolished completely. You know what I'm trying to say? You're made to seem weak, stupid, deviant completely via media. There's policies created essentially to incriminate your behaviors.
Yeah, I hear you.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I hear. It's a cynical take. Honestly, it's a bit too cynical for me, but yeah, I hear you.
So Dave Chappelle's always made this joke, white guys are getting the nigga treatment now.
Yo, he actually said that. Yo, said that. Yo, I love it. What a hot take, man. This is a hot take, man.
But it's interesting because this is
a hot take.
This is a it's a complex scenario because honestly, I'm not sure if it's not like, and again, I'm not sure if it's not an attack on masculinity because the other day I was having a conversation about how, hey, why does media never ever uphold the idea of a strong black man? And then I thought about it, I was like, does media ever really uphold the idea of strong men? Period.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the lesson.
Hercules.
I started asking myself.
Hercules outdated.
Michael Jordan.
When was the last Hercules?
What?
Last Hercules movie? What about Aquaman?
Spider-Man. They do it like
dude.
Spider-Man's like, no, I don't like
Marvel
Spider-Man.
struggles with putting out like a theme. I think like fucking I can't remember their name.
Black Widow.
Okay, Black Widow. They have the other, but it's all the female Marvel superstars now, and like they're doing it now.
All the incels got upset that Brie Larson was like too masculine. Like fucking dudes get upset.
The other issue. We should talk about incels.
If we make it,
incels. Yo,
let's get some incel talk, guys.
You know what I believe for the incels? I believe parents. Parents are not being fucking around, man.
Yeah, for sure.
It's all the parents, man. They're like, I'm gonna leave little Joe on his own to go on the internet.
It's bad
4chan.
Yeah.
Wow, and all of a sudden, his first girlfriend is like on fucking StarCraft, and all of a sudden, wait. Yeah. And like, I never saw the sign. You tell me you didn't saw the fucking sign?